with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
This is an excerpt on February 28, 2020, 7:44 p.m. How, does the FBI find people? The people's misspelled P-E-O-O-P-L-E. Did the defendant find out how the FBI finds people in this case? Oh, she found out.
I object.
What more do you need to see?
Shame on you, sir.
All right, welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. Sorry, I'm a tiny bit late. But I was busy watching, something Josh sent. It was funny. What did I eat for lunch? I went with frozen taquitos in the microwave, and I tried the Captain Womit's, hot sauce that was gifted to me. Oh my goodness, I think I fell in love. There's a sweet hot one. I cannot pronounce it. It has like some French word with a C-H-E-A-U-X something in it. It was yummy. It was yummy. I ate about a third of the bottle of hot sauce, and the taquitos were also good. It's good stuff. I don't know who won chat. I'm scrolling up. I need somebody to fess up or own up or just out somebody else if you know who won. All right. It was Angelique. Angelique won. Is that right? Oh, there we go. Add Tinsley. Teensy? It's like a teensy bit. You mean taquitos? Isn't that what I said? Taquitas? I thought I said taquitos. It was not Angelique. It was, oh crap, I can't remember. Chat not on screen. Chat is on screen. Well, Leonie H says, I think it was me. There you go. Leonie, it's all you. We're going to send it to you to internet ownership. You're the first one to own up to it, so it's all yours. Congratulations. This goes on your permanent record. Help yourself over to the merchandise page on the YouTube channel and scroll through all the available options. You will find in there, amongst all the other fine items, that you can download for the low fee, for the low fine of 50 cents, your own copy of the Internet Ownership Certificate commemorating this event forever in history. The form comes pre-signed. You just have to fill in the blank with your name, signed by both myself and my boss, Mrs. R.A. And it's suitable for framing and or use as a cover sheet on your CV. All right, sounds good. Good luck with the Internet this afternoon. Might have been Angelique. We gave it to Leonie. I'm sorry, Angelique. If we ripped it away from you when it was rightfully yours, we will punish you appropriately later. I promise. We'll get back to it. All right. Many things happening. First of all, the funny thing that happened that Josh grabbed. Oh my goodness. Well, we'll play that later today. It's not like happening today. I've got it. It's hilarious. It's the worst. It has everything in one Zoom court meeting that you could possibly want. I'm still working on my own internet, says AC's Wildflower. I'm sorry. Hope it gets worked faster. I think it was Defense's Binder that was first in chat. It was definitely Leonie. I was like number 2 here, says Red. All right. Red has never led us astray. I think in our entire life history of Red Pen and this channel, there's been like one typo, and I'm pretty sure it was she typed it correctly and the computer corrected it incorrectly. That's how much I trust Red Pen. All right. Yes. It's true. I'm never gonna doubt anything you say again. Every time I do, I get owned. Ronnie says, best channel ever. Is it Ronnie? Ronnie, congratulations. Best channel ever. Love you guys. 14 months. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. And congratulations on the 14 months. It would not be the same without you here. I'm glad you like it. I like the bats. You've got bats in your courthouse. Boom, boom, boom. Where's that? Let's go there. Oh, helps if I don't cover the whole screen with my logo. I mean, I'm a little bit conceited, but not that badly. Let's put it over here. If only I had a few more downstream keyers, right? Just a few more buttons that would fix that problem. It would never happen again. All right. So I was speaking with my child the other day, young child, and they said, Dad, the doves are nesting in the old robin nest, or the old bird nest. And there's a bird nest on top of one of my pillars inside our porch. And they come back every year and nest there. But this year the regular birds didn't. Instead, a dove decided to use the nest because no one else was. And I'm like, hey, that's cool. She's like, yeah, I'm so excited to watch, because they're little chicks and everything. And we can't see because it's way up high. She's like, I think it's laying eggs. And then she comes in. She's horrified, absolutely horrified. And she says, the other dove is really mean. It came in on the first one and it was trying to lay an egg, and it was attacking it and pecking it in the head. And I realized what was happening was nature. Eggs have to come from somewhere, right? And I realized that, she's old enough to ask the question. She's old enough to get the answer. And so I just looked her straight in the eye and said, you're right. That's just a mean dove. I don't know why it would do that. Go ask your mom. That's it. So that's, there you go. Anyway, and we got an Amber Alert. What's that about? Missing endangered Havelock, North Carolina. Anuahu Thompson, 6-year-old black male, last seen in a maroon 2007 Santa Fe with fictitious Maryland plate. 8EH-5005 if seen, call 911. There you go. Amber Alert just coming in. Way to kick it to mom. Yeah, I did. Free to be member for 24 months. You made it to the 2-year mark. Congratulations on the new courthouse. Free to be is in the house. Thank you very much. Love that new color courthouse. Let's see. We had a tortoise in the backyard that started that particular conversation in our house. AC's Wildflower. We went to the zoo, and there's like a 190-year-old tortoise, and I'm like, I'm not super interested in the turtles because they don't do much. They like slowly move and munch. They're not the most interesting animals to watch for me. And my kids are over there and like, Dad, the turtle's trying to climb on top of the other one. And I did not know till that moment that turtles make noise. But they do. So there you go.
She'll be back at 1:45 when the jury comes in. But this is just DV motion. She had to step out for a second.
This is a directed verdict motion or judgment
of acquittal. In the case of People versus Linda Stermer, it's my understanding that the prosecution intends to rest at this point when the jury comes in.
Yes, Your Honor. People have no further witnesses, and we will rest.
And the defense has a motion for directed verdict. Any objection to my hearing that before the prosecution officially rests in front of the jury?
No.
No? Okay. So arguments, counsel?
You ready?
Yep.
Yes, you want a podium?
Wherever you want, it's fine.
It's not a podium. I forgot what they called it.
It's a lectern.
The thing that you
lectern.
Move, the thing that you move around? Yeah.
Yes. The thing you stand behind.
I don't like podiums, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Given the fact that we're here in a felony murder arson common law arson is a general intent crime. The enduring common law definition of mental element of an arson is that the burning be done maliciously and voluntarily. A malicious burning occurs when the defendant either intentionally or wantonly burns property without justification or excuse. Wanton arson required an intentional act which created a very high risk of burning a dwelling house, which risk was known by the actor and disregarded when the actor performed the risk-taking act. In this case, according to the required mental state of arson, being either an intent to burn the dwelling house of another, in which there has been absolutely no evidence that has been presented, either circumstantial and at most speculation, that Ms. Linda Stermer did any act that caused the burning the dwelling of their home. They have presented evidence of witnesses, even to the appointment of an expert, and the expert has not provided this court or the jury any evidence based upon his forensic analysis, his inspection of this case, to show that Linda Stermer was the causation of the house that burned their home, their dwelling. Furthermore, they have not been able to establish what did cause the house to burn.
Somebody's thirsty.
And to establish that a defendant acted willingly and maliciously and voluntarily, the prosecution has a duty and must prove one of the following: that the defendant intended to do the physical act constituting the act of arson, such as starting a fire, which they have never provided any evidence to this court or to the jury that Linda Stermer started a fire at their home, or doing any act that results in the starting of a fire.
Like filling
no
up a gas
evidence
can.
in reference to her starting, committed any act that resulted in a fire, or that the defendant, Ms. Linda Stermer, intentionally committed an act that created a very high risk of burning the house down. And therefore, without first establishing how did the fire start, what acts was engaged in order to connect the nexus to create a fire, and what was used to cause the fire. There has been no evidence in reference to the experts. At the most, they have stated that there was evaporated fumes on the pants of the deceased. They have not provided any evidence that established that there was any gasoline in the home, that when they did the excavation, they did no testing to determine whether or not there was gasoline any place on any part of the inside of the house. None whatsoever. And so this case has come to a point where a fire occurred, and the multitude of individuals who was charged with trying to determine how did the fire start have not brought before this court, based upon all the scientific evidence that's been available, that has been to some degree perfected over the years, that none of that evidence has been presented to this court to show not even how did the house and the fire start, and what caused the movement of the fire. at that home that ultimately destroyed it. And the only thing that they have been able to emphasize, and they haven't really argued that a lot, but they've tried to emphasize through the back door that through the insurance experts that one person died as a result of the fire and one person survived. And under no degree of research can you show that in law, not speculation, in law, that there is any rule that states if one person survives an unfortunate incident and another person don't, then the person that survived must be the cause of the other person's demise. And Judge, taking what the actual law is, not what speculation is, not what circumstances are, not what looks like, and not what associations are. We're only here for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to determine what was the cause of the fire and who caused the fire. And if you take the fact that they can say that some petroleum or some element of any degree, whether it's electrical, whether it's the fireplace, whether it's the unfinished home, whether it was an act of God, which that hasn't been brought up. But the other factors are that clearly when you go out to investigate a fire, there are a multitude of different causes that could create a fire and cause an unfortunate tragedy such as this. And all they have done is presented and has brought in here is a bunch of speculation that has not been connected to the elements that's required under the state of Michigan and also under the state of every other state in the United States. And so with that, Judge, I ask this court to
grant a directed verdict.
Look at the law in this case and the burden that's on the prosecution. And I know given in the most light favorable for the prosecution, I understand that rule. But Your Honor, there has not been, from the testimony of every person that they have brought in here, no one has said that Linda Stermer created the environment, created the act, and ultimately caused the final death of Mr. Stermer.
The final death.
That has never been evidence that's been presented to this court. And so we would ask this court take the law as it's stated clearly, and that for everything that's been presented here as far as this evidence, that none of it has connected Ms. Stermer as the person that caused the fire, caused what they have alleged as an arson, and ultimately the demise of Mr. Stermer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guzzling that coffee.
On the side of me?
JM, thank you. 16 months. Congratulations.
So counsel said these are based on allegations of only 2 individuals in the home and 1 survived. Your Honor, there has been testimony of several other things other than that. We've had an expert, someone declared by this court as an expert in fire investigations, that went through and found the area of origin. He went through this process. He described the scientific method. He talked about the several different hypotheses and why they were not then consistent with what they were finding with the physical evidence. He looked and ruled out the electrical. He looked and ruled out the mechanical. He looked and ruled out the chimney. This court saw the pictures of the timbers above the chimney. This court saw the walls in place, which were a part of his reasoning for the electrical. This court heard what he stated was the area of origin and why that would not be consistent with the mechanical room, which is where the furnace. This court heard all that testimony. This court also heard that it was an intentionally set fire based on his expert opinion. Some of those things were directly because the defendant herself described an accelerant trail. The defendant herself described where she saw the fire when she came up, which then matched his area of origin. The defendant went and bought gas that morning, Your Honor. We've had testimony that she purchased it and you had gas, and that Cynthia DeLoach saw the hose going into the back hatch of the Blazer. That was not where the gas tank was. Then we have the gasoline found, tested and found on the victim's underwear, his left sock, his right sock, and his sweatpants. You've also heard then testimony, Your Honor, of how the defendant sent the boys away that day, woke them up. Two of the boys stated they didn't want to go. She sent them away. Those all then are circumstantial evidence that this court can consider for the act of arson, and that the defendant herself is the one that set the fire, planned for the fire, intended to burn the residence down, in which the residence was burnt down. I didn't hear counsel address the premeditated murder, but I'd like to address that as well. There are many, many acts that show premeditation, some of which I've already talked about. The gas on the sweatpants, the buying of the gas in the morning, sending the boys away. Those are all for this court to consider in terms of premeditation. But additionally, I'd like this court to also consider the additional premeditation, that when the arson is foiled and that when the victim races out of the home on fire, screaming, trying to rip his clothing off, Your Honor, I also want this court to consider the premeditation of getting into the van, seeing, describing, saying she sees him in the side yard, and the neighbors then seeing her in the driveway. And as soon as she sees these neighbors that she's so intent on trying to get help from, that as soon as they're coming down the driveway, she makes an immediate turn into the side yard and goes to the backyard. And it just so happens that right where she runs her tracks is right where the victim's located. Pool of blood on the ground. There's premeditation to get into that van after she says that she sees him in the yard. There's premeditation to drive to the side yard and all the way into the backyard on a rainy, muddy January day with no reason to go in the backyard. But then again, Your Honor, I want you to also consider the additional premeditation. He survives the fire. He survives getting out of the house. And then what does she do? All of the neighbors account that she threw her body on top of a burned human being. So badly burned, she herself describes him as pink melt, laboring to breathe, struggling to breathe. And what does she do? She throws her body on him to help him breathe. The court has heard testimony of that. The court has transcripts of that. She had to be pulled up twice, Your Honor. I asked this court to not only but deny the directed verdict on all these counts with the evidence that's been presented. We think that there's more than enough evidence to show that Linda Stermer thought about this fire, intentionally set this fire, and as well as trying to then catch Todd in that fire and kill him, and then even more premeditation then of trying to kill him even after those plans did not go the way she had expected. We find that in the light most favorable to the prosecution that all the evidence has been presented for this court then to allow the jury to make the decision, and we ask the motion to be denied.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Keller?
Right.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm about to deny it. Do you want to say something before I deny it?
Your Honor, that would be fine if we were in Magic Land. This is not about magic. This is about what was the actual findings and who did what?
Wasn't it this attorney
there
who
has
said he
not been any evidence
magically got out of the house?
That's been brought before this court that showed that Linda Stermer put her hands in any motion that created a arson, that created a fire, that put somebody else's life in danger. Her life, his life. There was no evidence that stated and showed from the testimony that whatever the experts say that his hypothesis, he never said that the only thing that we have left is Linda Stermer caused the fire by doing X, Y, Z. That's not the evidence. And so this whole issue about why she reacted the way she did for trying to lay on top of her husband, that's not the cause of the fire. The cause of the fire has to be based upon an act, and they have never showed any evidence that she acted in a way that caused the fire. To say that someone purchased some gasoline is almost like saying that everybody that goes to a gasoline station and happen to go home with an unfortunate issue in reference to a fire, then they are an arsonist because they purchased some gasoline. And that issue itself has been suspect in reference to prior testimony that the individuals say that she saw her at a service station, making some purchases of some items and putting some gasoline in her car. And Judge, I still say that there is nothing, even if you stretched it to imagination, that establishes a connection and a nexus between Linda Stermer and the cause of the fire. Thank you.
Thank you. Defense brings this motion for directed verdict under Rule 6.419, which states that after the prosecution has rested its case in chief or the close of all the evidence, the court on defendant's motion must direct a verdict of acquittal on any charged offense for which the evidence is insufficient to sustain a conviction. I must state my reasons for my decision on the record. I am to grant a motion only if, after considering all of the evidence in the light most favorable to the prosecution, I conclude that no rational trier of fact could find that the essential elements of the crimes charged were proven beyond a reasonable doubt. In this case, I can reach no such conclusion, and the prosecution's case in chief survives the motion for directed verdict brought by the defense. A reasonable jury may conclude that, although circumstantial, the evidence is powerful. For each count, the prosecution must demonstrate that Ms. Stermer caused the death of Todd Joseph Stermer. For count 1, the prosecution must also show that she intended to do so. Although count 2 offers 3 states of mind, I'll just address the intent to kill, as that's the standard for count 1 and the highest burden for the prosecution. On count 1, then, the prosecutor must prove that the killing was premeditated, in other words, thought out beforehand, and that it was deliberate, meaning she considered the pros and cons of the killing and thought about and chose her actions before she did it. On the second count, the prosecution does not have to prove premeditation and deliberation, but instead must prove that when Ms. Stermer did the act that caused the death of Todd Stermer, that she was committing the crime of arson. For arson, the prosecution must prove that defendant burned a building, that the building was a dwelling house, and that she intended to burn the dwelling or its contents or intentionally committed an act that created a very high risk of burning the dwelling or contents, and that while committing the act, she knew of that risk and disregarded it. I'm going off of my notes from trial, so I may not be bringing up everything, but the prosecution has presented evidence that defendant was married to Todd Stermer and living in the home with him and their children. She was having an affair and lying to cover it up, even recruiting others to help her. The night before the fire, she and Todd had what has been described as their worst fight. apparently over money issues and infidelities. The morning of the fire, she directed all of her sons to leave the house. She gave them money and advised that they go to the mall, to lunch, to a movie, activities that would keep them out of the house for a while and arguably safe from a fire. This was the day she and Todd were to talk or argue about the details of the divorce, according to Ms. Stermer. In what has been described by witnesses, the sons in particular, as highly unusual and not part of the family's habit and routine, she did not allow the sons to communicate with their father, whose testimony demonstrated by testimony that he was sleeping in a chair or on a couch in the living room. These actions, it could be believed, demonstrate not only intent but planning, deliberation, and premeditation. After the boys left, the evidence demonstrates that Todd had gasoline on the clothing he still had on, and the house was ablaze with fire. The evidence, mostly from Ms. Stermer's own statements, is that Ms. Stermer, rather than tend to her husband on fire, took the van to attempt to leave the scene and get help. There's been testimony that she had 2 cell phones at the time. In the process of doing that, she ran over her husband as he ran outside in flames. Blood on the van demonstrates this, and it's uncontested that she ran her husband over with the van. Ms. Stermer's statements were that it was an accident, but a rational juror could find that to be non-credible and instead believe that after causing a fire, she ran him over. There's testimony, too, as noted by the prosecution, that she was covering him. Could be a loving wife trying to save her husband, or a wife trying to make sure her act of arson ultimately caused his death. There's evidence presented that he died of smoke inhalation. Several witnesses testified to Ms. Stermer's various versions of events, which could bolster the prosecution's theories on count 1 and 2. There's testimony from a boyfriend confirming that she had an affair, which could pose a possible motive for her actions. Friends testified that after the fire, she was looking for a cup out of a dishwasher, presumably because it contained some type of evidence of a crime, such as a tranquilizer. A witness testified to photos of the sons in a shed, not necessarily known for housing such things. One could infer she wanted to save those from the fire. A gas station attendant said she was getting gas that morning and putting it in the back of her car, which it would imply it was being put into a gas can. A gas container was found out in the front of their yard. A Dardita Gordon testimony was read into the record, which basically supports the prosecution's theories of the case. For all those reasons noted, I do find that there was sufficient support for the prosecution to survive this motion, so it will be denied. Counsel, anything else before I bring in the jury?
I have nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Kelly or Mr. Mueller? Okay. Bring in the jury.
All right. Here comes the jury. The jury comes in with the first thing they're going to hear is that the state rests. They're going to sit down and defense will take over with their case in chief, and we will have witnesses. No surprise there on denying the judgment of acquittal or directed verdict, as they called it here. They rarely get accepted, although I believe we've seen one that did. It's extremely rare. The state rested their case without ever being able to get in the testimony about those red towels soaked in gasoline that she had downstairs in the basement where she was supposedly doing laundry. And the defense was able to keep those out because the company that had done the testing went out of business on the records. The original records of the test were not available anymore.
Ms. Siderbean?
Thank you, Your Honor. The people have no further witnesses and we rest.
Thank you. The people have rested. Mr. Mueller, did you care to call any witnesses in this case?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm going to have Len McHugh come to the witness stand.
Okay.
And if we can go get him real quick.
Okay.
Somebody McHugh. Mr. McHugh. This is going to be interesting. The prosecution now gets to lead on their cross-examinations, and defense cannot lead on their direct examinations. So the shoe is on the other foot now. It makes it a lot easier for the prosecution to get what questions from the witness they want. Walk around. You have your own door.
Sir, you can come on up here.
Let's see if defense is good at asking
Raise your
non-leading
right hand,
questions.
please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Please have a seat. And once you're settled in, we'll have you give us your full name and spell your last, please.
We're going to close out the poll.
I'm Len McHugh, last name MC, capital H-U-G-H.
Thank you.
Most of you just like to click
Thank you.
buttons.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you tell us, back in January of 07, what were you doing for a living?
Insurance adjuster, independent insurance adjuster.
What does that involve?
I'm licensed through the state of Michigan, and I get hired by various insurance carriers to do claims for them.
Do you have a specialty in terms of claims?
I'm licensed for property and liability, casualty, and work comp, but I do mostly property.
Back in January of 2007, were you doing property in connection with this fire at the Stermer residence?
Yes, I was.
Can you explain to us, first of all, how did you get notice there's a fire and then you're going to do some adjusting?
So how we got notified of it, Farm Bureau Insurance had hired our company to start the fire assignment. It was supposed to be basically a limited assignment because the large loss adjuster for Farm Bureau was going to eventually take it over, and he didn't. So they assigned it to our company, and then I was the adjuster that was assigned by J&S Claim Service, my employer at the time.
If the fire was January 7, 2007, about what day did you first actively get involved?
I think it was January 9th is when we received it.
Did you make contact with Linda Stermer?
Yes.
What was the purpose of that?
To set up a time to go out and take photographs and start the claim process.
Tell us, if you would, the claim process. What are you doing when you're talking about going and taking photographs?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go there and determine the cost to rebuild the house, and we usually do the personal property as well. And I go out and I interview the person that I go to and take a recorded statement. Usually get a consent form from them.
That would be the owner of the house?
Yes.
You call that the insured?
Yes, we call them the insured.
Okay. So in this particular case, you're representing the homeowner's insurance, right?
Correct.
You contact Linda Stermer?
Yes.
Did she ask you anything about why you're contacting her?
Yes, she did.
What did she ask you?
She said that she was wondering why I was calling her because...
Right now, just this is hearsay, the way it's framed.
A question.
I don't know if a question is a statement or an assertion.
It is not.
So I'll overrule the objection.
Thank you.
If it's a statement from Linda Stermer, Your Honor, it's hearsay.
Thank you.
Can it be proven true or false? How can a question be offered for the truth of the matter? So anyway, I'll overrule the objection.
Thank you. Sir?
Okay,
what question did Linda ask you?
She asked me why I was contacting her.
And what did you tell her?
I said because the insurance claim was turned in for her fire.
And what did she ask you about her knowledge of whether she even had property insurance?
I guess I'm just going to object. These are Linda Stermer's statements. They're being offered for the truth of the matter. They're out-of-court statements. He's not a party opponent. They're hearsay.
And by definition, Your Honor, MRE 801 says a question is not hearsay. It can't be proven true or false. Thank you. Go ahead.
She wanted to know why I was contacting her because she thought she didn't have insurance.
She didn't even think she had property insurance.
Correct.
All right. So you ultimately do interview her.
I do.
On the 9th?
On the 10th.
On the 10th. And on the 10th, you also went and inspected the house, the property?
Yes.
You're a personal property, is that called personal property?
Property adjuster.
Okay. All the contents, TV, sofas, whatever, clothing?
Yes.
All right. Your Honor, may I approach the witness? I'm going to show you defendant's proposed exhibit N as in Nancy, and ask for you to look at that and tell us if you know what that is.
Yes, those are my photographs.
It's got 14 pages, and if you look at page 1 through 9, what date would those pictures have been taken?
The 9th? 8th? 9th? What?
January 10th, 2007.
Same day you interviewed Ms. Stermer?
Yes.
And then you came back, if I look at the last 5 pages,
Yes.
What day did you come back?
January 15th, 2007.
Okay. What's the purpose of taking pictures like this?
Is to document the file. We take pictures all the way around the exterior and then interior pictures.
Okay. You took all the pictures?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admission of Exhibit N.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you. What I want to do is have you just kind of describe your process and the photos as we go through them. Is that okay?
Sure.
Page number 1, what I'm going to do is I'll just go through, kind of call out the upper right corner, and you tell us what that is, and then we'll go through the picture, okay?
Okay.
What is January 10? You're the adjuster.
Yes.
And this is what? East?
What's, oh, the first picture?
Yes.
Yes, east, correct.
Okay. And before we do that, I'm going to blow this up a little bit.
Is this from the east or looking east? I think it's looking east.
Just so you have your bearings.
Yeah, that house is a total loss.
Is that your drawing you obtained?
Yes.
Where'd you obtain? You didn't obviously draw that by, on a CAD machine or something.
That's a blueprint from when the proposal was set up for the building official to authorize a permit for the house to be built.
Where'd you get the drawings?
From the building official.
Nobody prevented you from doing that? You just go down there?
Yeah, public record.
And get a copy of drawings?
I got a copy of. I don't remember how I got I got them from there.
Okay. Can everybody see over this? I'll drop it down a little.
Drop it like it's hot.
I'll do this. And as you can see, west is facing the back of the house.
Correct.
Front of the house down here, east.
Yes.
And obviously north to the right.
Yes.
When we talk about directions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, so it's looking from the east was the first picture.
So this is obviously facing east. You said just the front of the house.
Yes.
What are you doing in the first, several pictures? We're going to go through those. What's your process?
I'm taking a picture of each side of the house.
So you're just kind of doing a walk around?
Yes.
All right. So if we go to the next picture, oops.
Adobe's really hard to work with.
This will be the north view. You're going to take a picture of the north side of the house?
Yes.
All right. What are you trying to do? Just get an idea of the general nature of the damage?
Yes.
All right. Then we go, this next one is the west, the back of the house?
Correct.
That's where the van was.
And that shows obviously the rear. It shows some little bit of debris in the back of the house.
Yes.
Looks
Do you
like
know
about a
who's been there
7-foot
before
pile.
you?
Not for sure. Who was there?
If this is January 10, were you aware that Scott Leroy, the fire marshal, had been there on the 8th?
I don't know.
Okay. You're just taking pictures?
I'm taking pictures. Yes.
Same thing, going walking around?
Yes.
South would be the left side of the house.
Yes.
Okay. And then I want to show you this third page, your picture, number 5. It says, view of debris, photo taken from where?
Taken from the east side of the dwelling into the main level.
So this is depicting a photo coming from the right side of the house?
I think the front's the east. I think it's probably from the front door.
Okay.
Probably looking in the front. I didn't go in the house that much. It wasn't safe.
Why did you not go into the house on January 10? The first day you're there?
If I did go in the house, I was just barely inside the doors, but it's not safe. Don't want to fall through the floors.
Not safe because there's too much debris all around?
Well, you don't want to fall in the basement.
Did you have some idea as you walked around that the first floor had all collapsed into the basement?
When I first walked around, no, I didn't have. I did when I walked up to it and looked in the front door, then I can see that it was not safe to walk in there.
Okay. This is just a picture of the general debris you're seeing as you're looking through the front door?
Yes.
All right. And then view of debris. Can you read that for me, this photo?
Taken from the east side of the dwelling, looking into the first level.
Okay. And that's a little hard to see because it's just a copy, but that's just more of the debris that's all through this house?
Yes.
Okay. Well, next I want to look at these. This is view of debris outside the west side of the walkout basement, which would have been the back, where the bay window is?
Correct.
All right. And what is it on January 10 you're trying to depict here?
I'm just taking a picture of whatever's outside the house.
Okay. Just a few pieces of pipe, as far as you can see?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. I just took pictures of the debris.
Okay.
I didn't know if it was going to be personal property items or not.
And you don't know who put it there?
No clue.
Photo 8. Continuation of the prior photo on the west side of the walkout basement. So the first one was west side. Just shows a little bit more debris.
Correct.
All right. If I circle, try to see if I can blow this up a little bit. Do you know what that is?
It looks like a mattress box spring.
And do you have any idea what these are here, the metal and the spring?
I'm not sure. It could be a couch.
Go to the next picture. View of the basement rec living room facing southwest. So if we go to our again, this is already previously admitted exhibit O, another drawing you see
Okay.
from the building department. And if you can help orient us, that's looking from where to where?
View of basement, rec, living room facing southwest.
Do you know where you are?
I'd probably be right at the bump out right there, more than likely, facing southwest.
Southwest, facing this way, looking from where?
Not somewhere in that room.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you if I walked along the wall and got in there, but I didn't go in there that very far.
You didn't get into the house, into the main area, right? Because of danger, you said?
That's the basement area.
Right.
If I would have went in the house, it would have been in the basement only.
But you said you didn't get in very far because of safety?
Correct.
Okay. Same thing.
Yes, 14
facing
pictures.
Northeast along the north wall. So north wall facing northeast. This is just more rubble you're seeing, just trying to get an idea.
Yeah. Probably doing a panoramic around the room. That's probably what I'm doing.
Next picture, number 11. You actually got into the laundry room, or were you taking pictures through windows?
I couldn't tell you for sure if I zoomed my camera in on those or I was in near the laundry room. I could have been in the house.
And the laundry room was over here on the south side?
Yeah, I probably took a picture from the doorway.
Same thing, view of the basement bathroom facing east.
These pictures are terrible. First of all, everything's burnt, so it's
Basement
not
bathroom is
recognizable.
in the southeast corner of the house?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Fallen framing from the basement bathroom facing north toward the utility room. What do you mean fallen framing?
Which picture? Which picture?
I believe it's 11. Let me go back. I think it's 11. Number 13, my fault.
Okay.
Where are we here?
Facing north towards the utility room, so must be in the bathroom down in the southeast corner.
You're actually taking a picture of the stuff in the bathroom?
Looks like it.
Number 14, more fallen framing in the basement bedroom. Do you know which bedroom it was?
No.
Okay. Safe to say, is there debris scattered all over this whole area?
Yes.
A view from the basement facing northeast. So that'd be the lower left corner of our drawing. Northeast.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. And that shows, what are you trying to show here? Do you see this green? Are these shingles from the roof?
What picture is that?
I'm on 14.
It looks like the shingles from the roof.
Okay. And then picture 16, view of debris in the basement bedroom. And that's all framing that has fall down?
Yes.
All right. So those are the pictures you took on January 10. Then you came back?
Yes, I did.
Why'd you come back? Oh, I'm in 17 now. One more page. View of debris in the basement bedroom, again, just more of the same, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you come back on the 15th. Have you coordinated with anybody to come back?
Yes, they were gonna dig the fire out, I think with an excavator, so I was there just to look at contents, personal property.
Who are you dealing with?
Whoever the cause and origin person was.
Do you recall the name Jim Mashinsky?
Yes.
Have you ever worked with him before?
Yes.
All right, so do you remember he was out there?
Yes.
And did he bring the excavator?
I don't think he did. He probably had a subcontractor out there.
But he arranged for it as far as you knew?
Yes.
There was an excavator there, right?
It was, they were going to dig it out, and that's why I was there.
Okay. Dig it out, you mean excavate?
Excavate so they can get in there. I think it was frozen.
Do you recall that big excavator knocking down walls of the house so people could get in?
No.
You don't remember that?
No, I just took the pictures of the inside of it.
Okay. If we look at that first picture, debris in the southwest corner of the living room, southwest, facing south. Facing this way, so you're standing somewhere taking a picture toward the south and the southwest corner?
Yes.
Of the whole living room area?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
And that's what you're seeing?
Yes.
Okay. Same thing, view of the contents in the basement laundry room. Now we're back in the laundry room on the south side, right?
Yes.
Can you tell what you're seeing, or just a bunch of rubble?
That was a question.
I'm not sure what it is.
Okay. Picture 3, a view of the southeast corner of the basement bathroom. The bathroom's down here in the lower left corner, right?
Yes.
Okay. More rubble in every single room, right?
Correct.
Okay. View of the basement utility room. As we saw, the utility room is right here at the bottom. And view of the basement utility room. As we saw, the utility room is right here at the bottom and would have been underneath the front of the house.
Yes, it would have been on the front.
Okay.
This was a crappy camera. It was literally a potato.
And we're getting toward the end here, but photograph 5 of the basement closet behind the fireplace facing north. So you are behind the fireplace. Behind the fireplace facing north, taking a photograph toward the right side of the house.
Yeah, it's the lower half of the closet.
Oh.
Bottom half of the closet.
Okay.
The next one's the upper half.
Then photo 6, same thing, right? Just
Yeah.
more of the same. Yeah, we'll skip over that. Now your content, you're looking for personal property.
Yes.
Furniture, TV, clothes, anything.
Yes.
View of debris in the basement facing northeast. Right? And looks like a frying pan of some sort.
Yes.
And some clothes and looks like cards maybe.
Like a cast iron frying pan that could do some serious damage to somebody's head.
Cards. Next picture, cards, yes. For sure.
Oh, okay. So this next picture, the last page, actually almost the last page. Photograph 9, view of sports cards in the basement utility room facing east. So you were able to find some personal property, right?
Yes.
That you had been looking for.
Yes.
Including a bunch of baseball cards and debris, right?
Yes.
Okay. And also you found some record albums?
Yes.
Anybody have those albums?
And that's the end of the photograph. So you found some, but safe to say, there's been a description that there was 2 feet of rubble in the basement from everything falling down. Based on your inspection, would you agree with that? There was a lot of debris throughout.
There's a lot of debris. There always is.
Okay. No more questions for this witness. Thank you, Your Honor. Your witness. Let me shut this down.
Mr. McHugh, you worked with Mr. Shinsky, is that correct?
He was an independent cause and origin person who's retired from Michigan State Police. I met him back when he worked for the State Police.
Did you also then work on with this investigation with Mr. Willison?
I attended a deposition one time.
So you were present at some point when Mr. Willison interviewed?
Yes.
And you said that was a deposition?
That was a deposition on, I believe, one of her sons.
And you mentioned that you knew Sergeant Leroy. You knew him prior to this?
Yes.
Is it common for law enforcement and the insurance companies to share information?
I think they can do an FM 64 and they can get our file. They can give us information. We don't get their file. They can subpoena our file.
So you give your information to them if they ask for it?
Yes, with that form. I think it's FM 64.
So they just fill out a form and then you give your information to them?
They send it to the insurance company and then they release it from there. We don't, as an independent adjusting company, we don't release that.
And you said you actually then spoke to Ms. Stermer on the 10th and the 15th?
On the 10th.
On the 10th. The 15th, was that just the day you went to take pictures?
Yes.
Okay. So just on the 10th you spoke to Ms. Stermer?
Yes.
And
I did speak to her another day, but I don't know what day it was.
okay. Was that an actual transcribed statement on a different day?
No, on the 10th, I took a recorded statement from her, took these photos, and then I met with her later after I wrote the estimate up, and we walked through the things in the various rooms.
Go ahead.
In reference, because the house was not 100% complete, so we had to go through, and maybe some rooms didn't have carpet, some rooms didn't have trim, and that's why we walked through that.
So is it an accurate statement when I say that most of your interview with her was about personal items in the home?
Basically the interview was mostly what room was each one and what was in the rooms. That was a lot of our statement. Then at the end, I talked about what happened that night.
And I'll get to that. But most of it was concerning then about the rooms and the contents and what was finished in each room?
Yes.
And you don't know how any of the debris got in certain areas of the house, do you?
No.
And so on one of those pictures, I believe on picture number 9, you could just take a look at that. I believe that one showed some cards.
Baseball cards.
From
Baseball
what
cards,
date? What date? The 10th or the 15th?
That would have been on the 15th.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
And you testified that those were some sort of cards?
Sports cards, more than likely.
And where were those found?
In the basement.
And then I want to have you take a look at then what you stated on picture 8 on the 15th. And
Okay.
I believe there was something of a reference to a frying pan?
That's what it looks like. It's like a frying pan in the bottom of the picture.
And what's that picture? What room is that?
That's also in the basement.
And what room in the basement?
In the utility room.
So there's a frying pan in the utility room?
Yes.
And that's immediately adjacent to the laundry room, is that correct? According to the drawing that's been submitted?
Yes.
So you didn't go into the home to actually take a lot of the pictures?
Well, the house was obviously a total loss. So I was trying to see how many personal property photos I could take. So when she turned her inventory in, then I could see that some of the stuff was visible. Usually in these type of claims, there's not much visible, and you just have to go by what they're putting down.
So most of the pictures were taken then were you outside of the house?
Some were outside. Looks like I may have been inside a little bit, but I'm not going under the debris that's hanging down or where I can't get into the rooms. That's why some of those are, like from the bedroom, there's only one picture of the bedroom. I'm not going to crawl over debris to go take a picture of the opposite direction.
And you said the only place that you did step into was into the basement area?
Yes.
And you couldn't go into the first floor?
According to the pictures, it looks like that was already collapsing down.
So was there anything left of that first floor?
Not much.
I'm just asking him about his pictures, Your Honor, and why he didn't go in.
A lot of it collapsed into the basement.
In your conversation where you were talking then with Ms. Stermer the first time on the 10th, did she tell you she had received some life insurance?
Yeah, she's had 2 policies.
And she received some money?
She said that there was 2 life insurance policies. I don't know if she received any monies or not.
She just stated she had some.
Yes, I believe I asked her.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about when you change gears from talking about personal items into talking about the actual incident. So when did you then start talking to her about what actually happened?
What I did is I recorded our conversation with a cassette tape. I had to flip the tape over, and that's when it ran out on that transcribed statement. So I wanted to find out more about the house because Farm Bureau already had hired someone to do the cause and origin. So my focus was the claim itself, the insurance portion of it. And then I asked her at the end of what happened.
So you waited until the end after
Yes.
you've gone through all the personal items. What was Ms. Stermer's demeanor during this interview?
She was very calm.
Was she anxious in any way?
No,
Was
very
she
cooperative.
nonchalant?
And that was why you were going through then the contents of the house?
Yes.
Did she show any emotion as you were going through the contents of the house?
The only time she showed emotion when I asked her if she ran her husband over with the van. And she
And when
showed
was-
some motion there. That was it.
So she only showed emotion at the very end when you asked a question?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, what was the question you asked?
If she knew if she ran her husband over with the van.
And what did she say?
She said, I don't know, but I thought she was going to start crying when I asked her that.
So that was the only time she showed emotion?
That I recall.
She cries when she gets the hard questions.
When you were talking to her about the house and the incident, not the personal items, but the actual incident, did she talk to you about her husband, Todd?
Just that he owned a business and he sold, I don't know, gloves or something. That's what he did.
Did she talk to you
He was
about...
self-employed.
Self-employed. Did she talk to you about any potential actions that would have caused the fire?
Not that I recall.
Anything that Todd did?
About the fuel oil line you're talking about? Is that what you're asking me?
What did she talk to you about with the fuel oil line?
That he had bled the fuel oil line the night before or the day before. There was air in the line.
And she said that that would have been a potential cause?
No, she just told me that there was fuel oil on his clothes.
She told you there was fuel oil on his clothes?
He may have got fuel oil on his clothes from doing that.
They're talking some things over.
Thank you. Just a few questions, sir. When you interviewed her, she was completely cooperative, right?
Correct.
Answered every one of your questions?
Yep.
Didn't fight you on any questions?
Nope.
You understand, were you aware she was in the middle of making funeral arrangements that week?
I was when I called her. She was at the funeral home, I believe, in one of my reports.
When you say she was calm, you could also describe her as numb?
Probably, yes.
And then finally, this idea of fuel oil lines. She was just suggesting, I don't know, maybe he had fuel oil on his clothes?
Yes, she told me that.
Yeah, you didn't get the impression she knew he had fuel oil on his clothes?
Well, she mentioned that he was bleeding, he had air in the line or something, and he may have got fuel on his clothes, and there may be fuel oil in the washing machine. He may have washed his clothes.
She was just kind of speculating.
What? There may be fuel oil in the washing machine?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Just one last question, Your Honor. When you're looking at these two drawings, so this is the basement, this is the first floor, correct?
Correct.
If I lay them on top of each other, is that accurate? Like in terms of how the house was built?
The other way around.
The other way around?
Yes.
This on it. So when I'm looking, like what's above the utility room and the laundry room?
What's above the utility room is the foyer.
The foyer?
The front door foyer, yeah.
Is above the utility room?
Yep, and looks like part of the office as well, in the guest bath.
And then what would be then on top of the laundry and the bath?
Master bath and the office.
So the kitchen is not anywhere near the laundry and the utility room?
No.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Yes, you don't know in the chaos how anything got anywhere in this whole house full of debris and rubble in a collapse of a fire, right?
Usually everything falls down.
But you don't know how anything or where anything was or anything, right?
No.
Thank you.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Jury, do you have any questions of this witness?
Usually things fall down. I want to know if that is a...
No objection.
Yes, I'll take that and ask that he be excused.
a lodge brand or a camp chef. Just find your own way out of the well. Just wander around and leave it. He did not want to be here.
Mr. Mueller? Or Mr. Kelly?
Mr. Kelly will take care of this.
Okay.
The pan fell and bounced through several feet of rubble until it finally came to a rest on the other side of the
Can we
house.
just approach a minute?
You may.
Thank you.
Don't, I just told you, go down there. Why you want me to go down there? There we go. Defense does not have somebody to walk their witnesses in, and every single one of them so far, there have only been two, has struggled. Now stay back. Don't get close. This is not for you. Heather N., it's good to have you back. Apple River, that seems like a day ago, wasn't it? I'm excited for our made-up word counter to go up. So I'm predicting we have a new word here this afternoon. Sorry, I ate way too many chicken taquitos.
Matter. Oh, sorry. You're going to take her back out? Okay. We have a short matter to address, so it should be about a 10-minute break, okay? Thank you, jury.
Short matter to address. Is it going to be that they opens the door saying that there was gas? She may have washed something in the laundry room with gasoline, because that came in on a defense witness. She may have washed clothes in the laundry room with gasoline. Yeah, maybe. If Mrs. R.A., I haven't got her the sweater. I'm just looking at it. I do not buy Mrs. R.A. clothes without running it by him first. Okay, the last time I tried that, it was a little item, and I learned not to do that.
Jury's left. Any matters to address in our short break?
No, Your Honor, I appreciate you allowing me to run downstairs.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Oh.
I expect that Mr. Trenkel will testify this afternoon.
Okay.
There are 3 videos that the defense has at least tendered as exhibits. I don't know if they intend to play them or not, but I'm going to raise objections to those being played for the jury.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to handle those now or wait till he's on the witness stand, but I don't want the jury to see any of them. So,
okay.
In addition, there's some hearsay contained at the end of one of the videos too, if the court even allows them to be played.
What are the...
The objection is to our videos?
Yes.
If I may explain, Your Honor, we have 3 videos. Give me a second.
It had a tie like the apron.
Ms. Eiderman, did you want to go?
Thank you. Do you mind?
Yeah. Leave this to Mr. Blair.
Thank you, Your Honor.
They are test videos that Mr. Trankel made. They're demonstrative exhibits to illustrate, 1, how fire progresses. He's responsible for that. 2, there are 2 tests of 100% polyester sweatpants, which he's going to testify because clearly, I don't know where the physical evidence went, but those gray sweatpants are 100% polyester. And he's going to be able to show what happens if you have gasoline, 2 ounces, how it burns, and if you don't have gasoline, how it burns. He's the one who made the videos, set it up in their demonstrative exhibits to aid the testimony. They're clearly admissible.
Try half
He's
a gallon.
the person laying the foundation for them. They're clearly relevant because we're talking about 100% polyester sweatpants, which are exemplars of the sweatpants worn by Mr. Stermer.
Is it just a silent video that he'll be explaining, or is there someone else talking in the video?
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
There's a voice at the end of one of the videos. You can literally hear the person go, "See, Todd Stermer would have been burned if he'd have been wearing those sweatpants."
Oh.
We will make sure that is. There won't be any audio. I think we can do that through the system, right?
Yeah, I agree that what you just described, Mr. Blair, should not come before the jury.
We can mute any audio.
I don't know how we get it back to the jury.
But yeah, how do you get it back?
Because I'll just delete it out before the jury gets the case. I can have that done today.
Okay.
But here's my issue with the relevance of these videos.
Okay.
If I may respond. It is not an entire pair of sweatpants, number one. It is a cutoff pair, like a pair of shorts. They're stapled to a wooden pole in what appears to be a driveway outside. They're lit with one of them is lit with they try to light it with a match without gasoline. Then the other photograph, Mr. Trenkel, I presume, stands there, chucks a cup of gasoline on them, and then throws a match at them and lights them. These are misleading videos that are trying to show, because we don't know what the condition of Todd Stermer's sweatpants were. They certainly weren't cut-off sweatpants. They certainly weren't stapled to a wooden pole in a driveway, and they certainly weren't outside. So there's a lot of misleading detail in these videos, and I was only provided videos. I was never provided a report attached to those videos that described anything that was going on here. I've never been provided a report from Mr. Trenkel in this case at all.
Oh, yes, you have, sir.
No, I was told that his testimony would be consistent with the habeas corpus testimony. That is what I was told it would be, and that's on your discovery response.
We have a report.
Okay, we're here to talk about the video.
Yeah, let me just address the video. As the court is aware, there is a completely different standard between recreating an accident, let's say just a car accident, and a videotape to illustrate general principles. This is the latter. We didn't attempt to recreate this burn injury, one, because it didn't happen with gasoline, so we couldn't be, and we don't have to have substantially similar circumstances. It is to illustrate principles, and the other one is the video just to show how fire dynamics happen when you start a fire, how fire rises. So
this is
it goes to weight.
So this is just demonstrative. So it's
100%
not going back to the jury.
I think it's a demonstrative exhibit that is admissible and should go back to the jury. Just like in any type of product liability case where you have crash videos or whatever that might be made, it's still admissible and can go back to the jury. Doesn't have to be substantially similar. I believe the case is Lopez versus General Motors. I'm happy to give you a cite if you'd like.
Mr. Blair?
But it has to be based on some. The problem I have with this, Judge, is they're using polyester sweatpants like they are saying that Mr. Stermer was wearing, but they're not even full pants. They're cutoffs. It's outside. There's no scientific reliability to any of this. The conditions are wholly different, and it's just here to mislead the jury to say, well, Mr. Stermer's sweatpants should have burned because if he had gasoline on because he was in the fire. But it's just here to mislead the facts of what could be because there's so many variables.
Well, but you don't know exactly how it started, right? I mean...
No, but the problem with this is, again, these aren't even a proper exemplar of the pants. They're not even the whole pant. They're a pair of shorts hung loosely on a post outside in the driveway.
We are demonstrating how polyester melts. That's the principle.
Why the shorts instead of long pants?
Just because that's how the test, that goes to the weight. It doesn't matter. When polyester burns, it melts, whether it's shorts or long sweats.
How long is the video?
I think it's 2 minutes, maybe less. But I'd cite the case of Lopez versus General Motors Corp., 224 Mishap 618, and that's a 1997 case.
You said
There is also
versus what?
Pardon?
Lopez v.
Versus
what?
General Motors. You want that site again, Your Honor?
224 Mishap 618.
618 at 1997 case, and then I'll cite People versus Unger, 278 Mishap 10 at 248. I can give you the Northwest site, 749 Northwest 2nd, 272. That's a 2008 case where the court stated, in Michigan, demonstrative evidence is admissible when it aids the fact finder in reaching a conclusion on a matter that is material to the case. Clearly, the issue of whether Todd Stermer's pants would have burned because of gasoline is material to the case. It is the linchpin of Mr. Leroy's position that there must have been gasoline in the house and in the living room because his pants tested positive for gasoline. So the real question would be, if that was true, why didn't they burn?
This is very important.
And when they do get gasoline on them, they melt. Okay. And any questions that Mr. Blair has, that goes to the weight, not admissibility.
Counsel, I'm going to go look up the cases cited. Have you been advised of the cases he's citing yet, Mr. Blair?
Only the one that was just cited, but the other video, Your Honor, I guess that we have is of this test burn. It's burning a storage unit, not a house, not anything else. I don't see how, other than to show how a fire progresses, but it's completely different construction, completely different. It's got cardboard boxes all over the place in it. It has no relevance at all. I understand that he's saying it's to show how fire progresses, but in a storage unit with boxes, I mean, I don't see how that's relevant at all to this case.
It is not substantially similar to the incident. It's not designed to be. It's designed to show fire dynamics, which is a fundamental principle of fire investigation. How does fire behave? And it's clearly part of NFPA 921, which is what Mr. Leroy said is the guiding principle.
Okay, let me go look at the
Thank
cases
you.
quickly.
If they don't show us that video, I'm going to run upstairs and check out and see if I have any polyester sweatpants that I'm willing to sacrifice for the cause. We could run out in the backyard. I'm sure I've got some gasoline somewhere. I'll check around the front porch. We usually stick cans of gas in front of our house, so we'll check there. and we'll see if we can't maybe have a, make a burnt offering of some sort to the trial. I have concerns. The reason why I have concerns, and obviously it's a little different, but when I was a kid, thinking Cub Scouts, we had a demonstration that I did at my table, and this was inside I think we were holding it in a church at the time, but I had a cup full of rubbing alcohol, and I'd take this white little cloth, like it was made from a bed sheet, okay, thin little white cloth, and I'd soak it in the rubbing alcohol, and I'd pick it up with tongs, and I'd light the thing on fire, and it would just flames and flames and flames, and it would go out. And the cloth never burnt. There's a reason. But if it was saturated, I'm wondering if it depends differently, if it acts differently than if you throw 2 ounces. He was very clear to say 2 ounces of gasoline, which is, I don't know. Let's see. About this much. About this much gasoline. So let's see. How many swallows is that? About 1.5, 1 3/4. So we might have to do a field trip. Can we do the demonstration now? I don't know. I might go up there and find out all my sweatpants are cotton. I don't wear sweats very much because, once again, I live in the South, and it's freaking hot all the time here. So it doesn't happen very much. You can wear your polyester sweatpants with your new medieval swacket. I could. I haven't bought it yet. I have to run it by Mrs. R.A. Your commentary is the greatest on YouTube. You always make me laugh, and I thank you for that. Fractured 23, thank you very much. Appreciate your support of the channel. 2 ounces is 2 shots. Yeah, it's not a lot. Okay, so if you only throw 2 little shots of gasoline, maybe at once on the sweatpants, that's enough for fire to spread. But the majority of the sweatpants are dry. And so I think the fire would behave differently. And what if he was sitting on the couch and she had spread a blanket over him and poured gasoline all over the blanket, okay? Saturated him with a gallon of gas and then ignited that, and it goes up in flames. The blanket is burning. He's on fire. He wakes up because of the heat. Obviously, that's a terrible situation. And as he's getting up and leaving, running out of the house, he throws the blanket off. Now his pants catch on fire, and it takes some time for them to burn. He immediately tries to take them off, right? So they're bunched up down by his ankles. Clothing that's all bunched up together is going to burn differently than clothing that's hung from a wooden pole out in somebody's driveway. So there's a lot of differences here, and I'm pretty sure if the defense does get to show these, which I think they will, because Michigan law seems to lean that way. Ooh, that was funny. Way to do that. YouTube just crashed my chat. We're back. If they are allowed to show this, the states can be able to clarify these and clear it up really quickly and say, yeah, but did you use a gallon of gas? How does it act differently if you saturate the entire thing? And what if the clothing was all bunched up immediately as soon as it was ignited? Did you try that? No? Okay. So I don't think it's going to be a deal killer, but I can see why it's important, because if the defense can say at this point that if you had thrown gas on polyester sweatpants, which we know he was wearing, and that had been on fire, which the testimony is that he was, because he was burnt, the pants would have melted. I mean, like melted. That would show, or the defense could argue that would show, that there must not have been gasoline on the pants. Hence, he was not on fire. How do you explain the burns then? Okay, I don't know. I'm pretty sure you can say a gasoline fire and another fire, if it's hot enough to burn the body, that like it did for him, would probably both melt polyester. So there's something else there that they just, I'm not worried about it, but I can see why they're chasing this one. Okay, polyester is thin material too. Is it like Ivan's silk? Oh, that's silk. Never mind. Maybe that would go to show the gas transfer after collected. But how do you get his pants not burnt? That's the question. How do you get his sweatpants not on fire? How do you explain the laboratory test on his clothes that tested positive for gasoline? Heidi, I can tell you defense is going to say that the neighbor who had the car shop or whatever, or the ranch, I forget what he was, the work truck that he had work clothes in, that sometimes those clothes might have a smell of gasoline on them. When he got them out of the car and put them on Todd, that there was some transfer enough to test positive in the lab. That's what defense is going to say, that it came from the Carhartt jacket. Man, you know what we should do during the break? We should watch that video Todd got for us. Or Josh got for us. Sorry, Josh. Maybe he got up before the fire got to his legs. If there was gasoline on them, if there was fire on his body and there was gas on his pants would be on fire. The way the gas fumes, they are explosive. And you can't, especially on clothing like that. I can imagine if you had like a jar of gasoline in one hand and a torch in the other, the fire's not going to jump to the jar of gasoline. But try dumping that jar of gasoline on something and the whole place will go woof. Let us watch it now. Let me run upstairs and see if I've got some, maybe Mrs. R.A. has a pair that I can replace promptly. Oh. Gassed primarily on his upper torso area. What shirt was he wearing? Did it burn up? Did he tear it off? I don't know. During a polyester burn test, the fabric shrinks. Big Tire knows this fire stuff. The fabric shrinks and melts away from the flame, emitting a sweet chemical-like odor and leaving behind a hard plastic-like bead. And oh my goodness, that bead is liquid lava. Don't ask me how I know. I've burned myself many a time on plastic. Okay. Did you watch Courtroom Confidential last night with the guy that has been investigating Koberger since the incident happened? The guy was so good. He made the case so understandable. I did not, Laurie. I missed it. I will need to go back and watch that. I stayed up late on Lori Vallow's case. How long will we break? Just 15 minutes. Fire retardant like kids' pajamas? Do a collab with Runkle and his flamethrower. He'd have to get it across the border. And although it would come into the U.S. just fine, I'm not sure if he'd get it back home. I'd have to keep it, and that would be terrible.
We here in Canada hate you and hope for bad things for you because we hate you.
Yes. Thanks, Ian. Does Ari know the comments are not showing up on screen? I do now. Sorry. Josh is a great interviewer. I have loved being on with him every time I've been on. Fantastic, fantastic friend. Yeah, if you want to imagine what a melted polyester burn feels like, take a Pop-Tart and overcook it in the toaster until the icing starts to melt and run, and just let it drip on, I don't know, your eyelid or something like that. That's what it feels like. It's terrible. It's absolutely, absolutely terrible. It's an owie. I don't do that. Just for the record, don't let anything hot drip on your eyelids. That's not good. I'm just trying to paint a picture of how it would feel. Andrew's like, okay, that was really bad. That was bad. I thought they used to spray certain items with retardant like bedding. I don't know, but I thought some of that retardant was like a carcinogen. Not medical advice. Right. I would have to know what a Pop-Tart is. Beginner crafter, do you know what a Hot Pocket is? A Hot Pocket is dinner. A Pop-Tart is breakfast. Other than that, they're pretty much the same. No, the Pop-Tart has icing, like sugared icing on it, and it's a thin pastry that you heat up. Both of them have burned more people than any other Mother Nature fire in the world. They're poison, says Christine. Look at the ingredients. My nephew burned both of his feet running out of his bedroom on fire. Carpet was old polyester, melted into the soles of his feet. Oh my goodness. Oh. A toaster strudel. That's it. Now I want Pop-Tarts with butter. I still have not gotten the courage to do that. I will eat butter on a graham cracker before I eat butter on a Pop-Tart. I wish your uncle had never said that. He should now make one saying, Canadians love you now. Sorry about that, Laurie. But here's why it's funny. There's not a single Canadian I know that I don't love. They're amazing. They're wonderful people. And the fact that Ian says that, and you have to know that Ian said that about UPS, United Postal Service, because UPS was ripping him off with these bogus import fees. Whoa.
Okay. Counsel, we're back on the record. Is it possible, I still have one more case I want to look up that Mr. Gallmeyer is finding for me right now. Can we call this other witness first and then address the video? I may want to watch the videos too, which might mean we have to
take another break,
end early or something, or go take witnesses out of order or something. So we'll see. How long are they combined, the two videos?
I would say they're less than 10 minutes, Mr. Miller, the two of the sweatpants.
Oh, for sure.
10 minutes combined?
All three are less than 10 minutes.
What's the third one again?
Third one is this fire dynamics video where he ignited some what's called common combustibles, and you see how fire spreads, how it goes out along the ceiling, and how quickly a fire develops.
Is that the shed? Did we have this one in the Dauber hearing?
No.
Okay. Is this the shed one?
It's a storage unit.
Storage unit?
Yes.
So we've got the storage unit one, we've got the polyester two and what's the other one?
There are two videos involving the polyester pants.
Okay. Okay, so how about we'll get this other witness on, and then I'll watch the videos.
Oh, we're gonna watch it off the record.
I'm thinking I'd like to watch them outside the presence of the jury before I rule, just to see what's in them, if they're not too long.
They're not.
Okay. But maybe we can call this up, Mr. Kelly, the witness that you walked in, and do that first?
I think that's a fair way to handle it, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So, we're going to bring the jurors back in then, and then you can call your witness.
All right, so we worked that all out. The judge still has not made a ruling. I think it's going to be close. Now, the judge, the law says that they can use whatever it is to explain a principle that helps the jury decide. That helps the jury make a decision is the key. If the video confuses the issue, the judge could rule this inadmissible, even though the rest of that ruling basically says it's allowed to come in. So I think her watching that video is really going to explain it, because we know a couple things. We know he was on fire, and we know he had those polyester pants around his ankles. No, you do the math. They're not melted. We have them. They're in evidence. We could open the bag.
Welcome back, jury. When I said 10 minutes, I didn't really mean 10 minutes. Just a joke. Okay. Mr. Kelly, you may call your next witness.
Mr. Kelly instead walks out of the courtroom. Maybe you didn't hear the question. Maybe the paralegals could bring the witnesses in. She looks nervous.
Ma'am, if you come forward, please. This way. You raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, why don't you have a seat on the stand there? And then if you could move the microphone so it's right in front of your mouth so the jury can hear you. And then once you're settled in there, tell us your full name and spell your last, please.
My name is Cassandra Grigg, Grigg.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Grigg, would you explain how you know the, well, let
Maybe move the mic back.
Do you know the Stermers?
Yes, I do.
Did you know Mr. Todd Stermer?
Yes, I do.
Did you know Linda Stermer?
Yes, I do.
Did you know the children?
Yes, all 5.
Could you briefly explain how your knowledge of the Stermers became?
I was friends with someone who lived down the street from them, and I was introduced to her and started babysitting. When I was 15, I moved in with her and Todd for a while.
She's super nervous.
And we've always been friends since. She then turned around and babysat my 3 oldest kids for me while I was working. Her daughter lived with me for a while. Like, we've just always been family.
And you stated that you lived in the home with the Stermers when you was age 15?
Yes.
And how long did you live with them?
I believe 2 years.
Okay. And from the period of time of, if we go back to 2004 to 2007, did you spend a lot of time with the Stermers during that period of time?
Correct. I saw them every Friday and every Monday.
And what was the occasion for Fridays and Mondays?
I worked the weekend, 12-hour shifts from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it was easiest, as I stated, Linda did babysit for me, to take my kids out on Friday night and then come back and pick them up on Monday.
And the house that burned down, had you been to that house during the time that Mr. Stermer was building the home?
Yes.
Did you spend time over there after they had moved into the home?
Yes.
Okay. And can you briefly describe the status of the conditions of the house as it was, when they moved in?
Got to cut that breathing sound out.
Would it be fair to say that it was not completed when they moved in? Is that right?
The house was never completed, no.
Okay. What was the basement like?
The basement had a slider door to it. There was a fireplace. Laundry was downstairs. It's where my kids, they spent the most time downstairs in the basement.
Do you recall whether or not the floor of the basement was concrete or not?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. And what about the living area? Were you familiar with the living area of the home?
Correct. Nothing was finished in the house. All the flooring throughout was like board, OSB board. You could see some of the installation around the windows. In the living room upstairs, there was a slider door, but there was no deck or anything attached to it. The fireplace upstairs didn't have any drywall on it or anything. It was all board. Todd did complete the ceiling in there. He put these, I don't know what they're called. He said it was walnut, and they look like wood planks. He used that and completed the ceiling with that.
The fireplace, was it a fireplace in the living area?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall how the fireplace in the living area was situated and how it was, what it was surrounded with?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes. The fireplace in the living area.
Mm-hmm.
Did the walls on the fireplace in the living area, were they completed?
No, they were all board. There was no drywall on them. They were all boarded, like the OSB boards.
Around the fireplace?
Around the fireplace.
In the living area?
In the living area.
And was there a fireplace in the basement?
Correct, yes.
And was the fireplace in the basement, was it completed?
No.
Was the wall similar to the same as was in the living area?
Yes.
Okay. Were you ever there when they were using the fireplace in the wintertime?
Yeah. The basement fireplace was used often.
Okay.
I thought there was no fireplace in the basement. There was one on the middle floor and one on the top floor.
There's the driveway of the house, when you come in off the road. What was the conditions that you recall in reference to the driveway into the property? Was it gravel?
It was, depends on which areas of the driveway, but yeah, it was like clay with some stone.
Okay.
The further closer you got to the house where the more vehicles parked, it was just all like clay. And any kind of wetness, a light rain, a light snow, would make it very, very slick.
To park or to drive in? Is that right?
Yeah.
Had you ever experienced that yourself as far as driving on the property?
Yeah, my car had gotten stuck several times. I started parking down in the back of the house for that reason.
Okay. And
whoa, this testimony is like
when did
complete
Ms. Stermer
opposite.
start babysitting for you?
2005.
2005. Okay. Your experience around the family, did you get a feeling that the boys, the mother and the father and the daughters got along good?
For the most part. I mean, they're family, so they squabbled some, but they all got along.
Okay. Were you familiar with any of the storage area that they kept some of their valuables in?
I'm not familiar with that.
You wasn't familiar?
I was told there was one, but I've not.
But you never went out there?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Did you ever go back to the house after the house was burned to assist with anything?
I went one time with Linda when she was looking for her wedding band.
And you was there with her?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Do you know whether or not you all found it?
No, we didn't.
Okay. From your experience, did this home, based upon what you had observed, did it seem like it was going to be the ultimate home for...
Your Honor, I'm going to object that speculation is leading.
Any response?
Beg your pardon?
Any response?
My response is, I'm just asking her, what did she see or what did you hear in reference to the home itself from Mr. Stermer or Ms. Stermer?
Okay. The way the question's phrased now will sustain the objection as to it calls for speculation.
Did you ever observe anything unusual about the family nucleus from the time that you've known Mr. and Mrs. Stermer?
Nucleus.
As in, I don't know what you might be referring to.
Did you ever see any violence in the home?
Yes.
When?
Throughout the whole time I've known them. Mostly when I lived with them in Portage.
So this is two places, two different locations you live with the Stermers?
I lived with them in their home when they lived in Portage, and the house in Lawrence she babysat my kids at.
So the house in Lawrence, did you live in that house at all?
No.
So you never lived in that house?
No, I never lived in that house.
You just was over there on a lot of occasions you spent
Correct.
At
I
that
spent
house.
a lot of family stuff with them, like graduation parties, Christmases, holidays, birthday parties. Plus, she had my kids every weekend. So.
At the home in Lawrence?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Her testimony is completely different from everything we've heard so far. Like, diametrically opposed.
May I have just a second, Judge?
Is this an expert witness who's being paid to testify? This is crazy. This is... Everything was backwards. The gravel driveway was slippery, so we drive down the steep hill in the grass because it was just for traction. There was violence everywhere. Nothing was finished. It's complete opposite from everything we've heard so far.
Prior to January the 7th of 2007, which was the date of the fire, when was the last time that you were at the house?
I believe it had been about 4 weeks.
About 4 weeks?
Yes.
Okay. And when I was asking about the conditions of how you, I'm going to say, how would you describe the unfinished parts of the house, did you ever see any smoke detectors installed in the house?
No. There was holes cut in the ceiling, and you could see wires hanging down, but there was no actual smoke detectors. And I remember this clearly because I was court ordered to take a video of the house in a custody battle with my son's father. And he wanted to be able to see where my kids were being watched at. And the house was unfinished. There was no smoke detectors. And I never made the video because he would have eaten me alive with it.
So there's no video?
So you had actually seen every part of this house?
The only part of the house I didn't see any of the bedrooms.
None of the bedrooms?
None of the bedrooms. Never been in any of the bedrooms.
But all the other rooms, the basement, you didn't see, you said had there been any attempt to place fire detectors in the basement?
Yeah, I remember there was a hole down there in the ceiling with 2 wires hanging out, like it was set to put the fire detector in there, but it never got put in.
Okay, and that was the same way on the living area?
The same way, I remember the one in the kitchen as well.
Okay. I have no further questions, Sean.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Gregg.
Good afternoon.
How much are you getting paid for your testimony?
So I just want to ask you a couple clarifying items, okay? So how would you describe your friendship with Ms. Stermer at the time of the fire?
We had a good friendship.
Were you very close?
Yes.
Did you talk about a lot?
I mean, yeah.
And at that time, you said you had known her for how long?
I've known her since I was 14.
And I don't mean to get personal, but how old are you now?
I'm 47.
So you're 47. So when you're talking about babysitting, you're not talking about babysitting the boys.
No, she babysat. When I was younger, I babysat for her children.
Which child? Which children?
All 5 of them. Ashley, Brittany, Trevor, Trev, and Corey.
Okay.
And then when I got older and had kids, Linda babysat for my kids.
Were you close to Trevor, Trenton, and Corey?
I wouldn't say close. We all got along. We all cared about each other, but I was always closer with the girls.
And so, were you aware that the boys' bedrooms were in the basement?
I don't believe so.
And that's where you spent the time then with your children?
Yeah.
Were the boys ever present on the weekend in the basement with you?
Not normally with me, but they hung out during the day with my children.
Did you know that Todd and Linda were having marital problems at the time of the fire?
Yes.
And you weren't there that weekend, correct?
No.
You said you hadn't been there for about a month?
Correct.
You never lived in that house?
No, I did not.
When you lived with them, that was in a house in Portage?
Correct.
And you never lived in the County Road 215 house?
No, I did not.
That was confusing.
How many times were you at that house on County Road 215?
Numerous.
Was that every weekend, you said?
Yeah, every Friday, every Monday, times in between.
Did you go from the time they started building the house until the end?
Yeah.
When did you make a copy of this video?
I never actually made the video. I was ordered to make the video and decided not to because of the condition of the home. It would have been an issue in my custody battle.
When did you make it?
When did you defy your court order?
When did you see this? When were you going to make this video?
In 2005.
In 2005.
Correct.
And you never told anybody, well, let me ask you this. You remember testifying in 2010, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
And you never testified about any smoke detectors or anything at that time?
No, I did not.
And you said that the Stermer family used the fireplace many times?
Yes.
Were you aware if they used the upstairs fireplace many times?
I'm not aware of that.
Did you go upstairs?
I haven't been upstairs.
So you described your relationship with Linda as pretty close?
Yes.
Did she ever tell you about Chris Williams?
No.
So in the 6 months preceding the fire, you had no idea that she had a boyfriend? Is that a no?
That's a no, sorry.
Isn't it true that you had an on-again, off-again relationship with Ms. Stermer?
I mean, I guess we've always been friends, but did we reach out every day and speak? No.
There are times that you weren't friends?
We've always been friends.
Times that you'd fight with her?
Of course.
So you said that, let me ask you, the driveway you said was made of gravel, correct?
It's clay.
And then I think you had said that there were stones?
Depending on which part of the driveway, like when you started towards the road, it would get worse as you got closer to the house.
And would you agree that the driveway was an incline up to the house?
Nobody makes clay driveways.
And so you said that you got stuck in the driveway, and so then that's why you would go down the hill and park in the backyard?
It wasn't really a backyard. I mean, but yes, that's what I did. I parked down there every time I brought the kids. The slider patio door was like 20 feet away from where I park. I'd unload my 3 kids, get their overnight bags, take it inside.
And then you would go up the hill to get back on the driveway?
I would reverse out until I could turn my car back up the driveway.
From the backyard?
From the back, yes.
And you'd go up the hill?
Yes.
And you said your kids went there almost every weekend up until about a month before the fire?
Yes.
And they stayed in the basement and played in the basement?
Well, they didn't stay in the basement, but that's where I remember doing the majority of stuff if we weren't outside, yes.
Where'd they sleep?
They had couches and stuff set up.
In the basement?
The basement.
So the kids slept in the basement?
Well, I don't know.
You don't know where your kids slept?
I don't recall where they slept, sorry.
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Something's wrong here.
Are you still close with Miss Stermer?
Yes.
Would you say anything to keep her out of trouble?
No, I wouldn't lie.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, any more questions over there?
Ms. Griggs, just for clarification, when referred to the fireplace upstairs, it's actually the living room, is that right?
It's in the living room, yes.
The living area?
That is the living room, yes.
So it's a living area and a basement?
And a basement, yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. And this driveway or the area that you refer to that's sandy or muddy, is that something that's consistent, or is it just when there was very inclement weather?
Yes, that was only if it was wet. Any kind of wetness, a light sprinkle of rain, a light snow, could be heavy rain, heavy snow, but if it was wet, it was slick.
But you could move in and out of it though, right?
Yeah, you can. Sometimes I would get stuck in it.
Okay. But you didn't have to have a tow truck
No.
to pull you out of it.
You kind of rock your car back and forth and rock yourself out of it.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Jury, do you have any questions?
Jury, help us out here. This is so confusing. Either the state, all the witnesses for the state have lied, or this witness has. I mean, we watched, we've got pictures of cop car dash cam going up a gravel driveway. She says it's clay. And that if it was wet, you'd have to drive off down the hill for traction. What in the world? They need to label these floors loft, main, or loft, ground level, and sub. I don't know. They need A, B, and C for the floors, and we have to use the same terminology all the way through. I don't care what the numbers or letters are. Could you be getting the houses mixed up? Yeah.
Question from the jury, no objection from the lawyers. You had testified that you and your kids had been at the Stermer home every Friday to Monday from 2004 to 2007. Why not the last month before the fire?
Job changed.
Thank you. Counsel, any questions in light of that question? She said job change. Any questions? Any other questions, jury? May she be excused from her subpoena, counsel?
No objection.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. You're all done, and you're excused from your subpoena obligation. And counsel, can you approach, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
What do you think of that? How do you like them apples? That is. I have been lied to by someone. And I think the most important way to illustrate that is to know that Linda's testimony, or Linda's words when she reported the story to investigators and everything, didn't she say she was on a gravel driveway? But maybe it matched. Linda said she got stuck, and so she had to go around to get traction. But she ended up just going and parking in the back. I don't know. I feel like someone's not being truthful. Come on up again. She's like, get up there. She wants you. I seem to remember testimony from first responders, from neighbors, everyone who showed up saying there was a gravel driveway and everyone parked on the gravel driveway, just off the gravel driveway, and that it would be slick. And I mean, the boys testified that if you drove your car down there, it'd get stuck. If it was even the slightest bit of moisture going around back, and Dad saying, hey, don't drive down there because I'm not going to haul your butt out again with my tractor. The testimony we just heard was a complete opposite. Not just a little bit different, not just some points of disagreement, but 100% opposite everything else we've heard so far.
Sorry, is this your next witness, I assume? Okay.
Some emergency workers said it was also a sloppy mess closer to the house and no gravel at the very top. But why do you drive down a grassy dirt hill for traction if you have to go back up when it's wet?
Sir, do you want to come forward? You raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat. And once you're settled in, we'll have you state your full name and spell the last, please.
I see you brought your luggage with you. Where have we seen him before? Who is this?
Robert James Trenkle, Trenkle.
Thank you. Mr. Mueller?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Trenkle.
Good afternoon.
I'm going to ask you some questions today about your work in this case. We'll just get into that in a second. Can you tell the jury what it is you do for a living, and then we'll get into how you and I got together on this case.
Okay. Yeah, I've been involved in the fire service since 1966. At that time, I became a trial firefighter for the city of Detroit, and I went through a 6-month training program. 320 hours were in theory, book learning, how fire propagates, how it progresses, and how to suppress it, and how the causal factors of it. And stayed in there, well, in 1967, the next year, 6 months later, we had a huge riot in Detroit and had innumerable arsons. So my goal was to be a fire investigator. And I tried to join I did join the Detroit police, but I found out after I got hired that the fire department is where the arson squad was, and I commented that where the guys carry guns and badges and they have no uniform, they're in plain clothes. Yeah, they're from the fire department. So I went back and kept my job there, and after 4 or 5 years, I went from the fire division to the fire marshal's division, where after 6 months training again, became a fire inspector. Had to learn about building construction, codes, flammable liquids, storage, all kinds of different things that relate to fire inspection for fire safety, basically.
Can I stop you right there? What's the difference between being a fire inspector, for example, and a firefighter?
For that firefighter?
Yeah.
Okay. Being a firefighter, we work 24-hour shifts. We responded immediately to any alarm that came in for our particular engine houses. I think back when I started, we probably had maybe 80 or 90 different stations. Not the same today. But we were the 5th largest city in the country, just 100,000 behind Philadelphia back then. And eventually we were known as the murder and arson capital of the world, which wasn't too good. So it gave me a lot of experience. But as far as going from firefighting to fire inspection, you work in a 5-day, 8-hour shift there. And we had 2 shifts, days and afternoons, and different shifts would have different responsibilities. For example, I talked about flammable liquids. Any place that had flammable liquid storage, any vehicles, tankers that would come through the city, we'd have to inspect every one of those, tag them so they were cleared for the year. Building construction, when buildings were built, we had to make sure that they were properly built as far as fire safety. We go hand in hand with the building inspectors. They take care of a lot of the other things. Electrical inspectors would take care of theirs. Plumbing inspectors would take care of theirs. In fire, we would take care of ours, make sure that they were conforming to the fire safety codes. As a portion of the fire investigators, I was in charge of, for a year or so, all the hospitals and all the schools in the city of Detroit. They have special needs too, or special requirements, and so I had to learn about that. And in those facilities, if the arson squad was really busy, we would fill in for them on those 2 that we had jurisdiction on, and once we found that the fire was an arson, we'd turn it over to them. We like capacity in the afternoon shifts. We go into bars and restaurants and make sure that their exits were open. Everything was, their fire extinguishers were up to date, and they didn't have anything that was dangerous that we'd potentially have to close them down until they fixed it. And sometimes we did close a couple places down for whatever deficiencies they had, because we didn't get to them all the time. There were others that were like torch burner units in a repair garage. We had to inspect, there were several different entities we'd inspect annually, like the hospitals, like the schools.
This is all with the city of Detroit?
Yeah. Well, there were, Wayne State University had some of their buildings outside of the city, and we'd go inspect them also, probably jointly with, I remember Southfield for sure. Wayne State had a pretty big facility there, and we jointly inspect that.
Can I stop you there and just ask, you've got, as a firefighter or the fire investigation expert, you've got special skill sets in fire suppression, tactics, and strategy?
Yes.
Tell us what background you have that makes you have subject matter expertise in that.
Other than college level classes, actual practical application, through the course of being in the firefighting division, I was mostly in a ladder company. There are fewer ladder companies than engine companies. We put aerial ladders up, break holes in the roofs, and ventilate buildings so the fire guys on the engine would be able to go in without, well, not without, there's still an excessive heat and things like that, but if we vent through the roof, excuse me, through the roof, we were able to allow them to come in, and it kind of lights up the fire. Sometimes there's not enough oxygen, so when we open the hole in the roof, it's safe. I mean, you've probably seen the movie Backdraft or heard of it anyhow, and that was something that never could happen, but backdrafts do happen. I didn't mean it that way, but backdrafts are because of bad fire suppression operations.
What?
Or when a structure has been smoldering for a long time. If you open a door on a horizontal plane, there will be an explosion and you can get hurt. By venting at the top, you won't. So all those are fire tactics and strategy. And back in the 60s, There were classes for associate degree programs by the community college, and I took all the courses they had to offer at that point, and tactics and strategy was one of them.
Let me just stop you there if I may.
Okay.
In terms of tactics and strategy, you go through a lot of training as a firefighter to determine what are the proper tactics, what are the proper strategies.
Sure. The 320-hour course we had in the beginning of our being a firefighter, much of that was regarding how to go into a fire, how to fight it. Like you may have heard the 2 in, 2 out practices.
Why don't you explain that for us? The ground rules, the rules of thumb for fighting fire.
Right. None of us were ever supposed to go into a fire alone. There are other occasions if we saw an individual that we may have been able to save. Sometimes the guys would, go in and do it without having a partner there. One of my buddies got burned pretty bad doing that, and fortunately we were there to back him up with water and pour water on him. But he ended up not staying in the department for what happened to him. But sometimes we think we're Mr. Asbestos Man. I guess we could go in because other people can't, and we have some equipment, but it's not going to stop the heat penetrating and fire still getting to us. And back in the old days, we didn't have any self-contained breathing apparatus. We had MSA filtration type masks. It was harder to breathe with that than it was just going in and facing the fire.
Mr. Trenkel, can you give us an idea of the training that you're taking to handle fires? Give us an idea of if you're inside a burning building, what the atmosphere is like, what the risks are, those kind of things. Just the overall.
Okay. Well, say 2 guys go in with a fire hose, fire line we call it. Used to be 1.5 inches, now it's 1.75 inches that we carry in. But when I started, it was 2.5 inch line, and you couldn't even make it turn. If I brought in that door, it'd be hard for me to turn toward you because there's so much water and so much pressure. So eventually we evolved to at least having 1.5 inch line separated into 2.5 inch line. And we were able to maneuver very much with that, but having 2 people in, again, 2 people out. But you learn the basics of fire and how it behaves naturally. Fire is governed by fire science, so fire physics, fire chemistry, fire dynamics, and it's altered by certain other things like ventilation, firefighting suppression operations. All those kinds of things can change.
I'm gonna object. I think he's giving expert testimony without actually going through his qualifications.
He's going through his training, Your Honor, but I'll try to shorten this up.
Shorten it up, please.
Mr. Trenkel, can you give us an idea of the dangers that you face as a firefighter that you trained against and why you're training for that?
Well, I guess asking it that way, I have to start explaining. But if I just go to the fire tactics and strategy, maybe I can explain it better that way, unless...
No, just the dangers that you're facing when you're inside a burning building.
You face death all the time. You don't know you're going to come back out. Normally speaking, we think we are. Through the course of my time in the Detroit Fire Department, we lost... Well, during the riots, 1 guy was shot, 1 guy was electrocuted, 1 guy died.
Your Honor, I appreciate Mr. Trenkel's war stories, but...
they're interesting, but I don't think they're relevant. Thank you.
Mr. Trenkel?
Yes.
You are certified as an origin and cause expert, right?
Might be certifiable.
And how many hours have you taken training in all aspects of firefighting? Not firefighting, fire investigation, I should say.
All the things that we were talking about qualifying, thousands of hours.
Are you also certified by organizations?
Certified by the Detroit Fire Department when I was there for fire investigation, fire inspection, the International Association of Arson Investigators, which I sat on the Training and Education Committee for 10 years.
There we go.
And still participate.
Is that, I take it, international, it's a worldwide organization?
Yes.
And you have to go through a lot of training to become certified?
Yes.
Okay.
Certification.
You have to be able to say fire in 10 different languages.
Certification takes a lot of background for them to approve you by your training and by your knowledge and testing and all of that.
What other organizations are you certified by?
the National Association of Fire Investigators also, and I'm board certified through the certification committee for IAAI.
Have you taught fire investigation tactics, fire investigation origin and cause?
Yes.
Tell us real quickly when and where.
Well, we had in Detroit, I got in the arson section in beginning of 1974. At that point, there were a lot of other jurisdictions like Michigan State Police. They didn't have their own academy. They came down to us and trained. We trained them on an afternoon shift and a midnight shift. So they got hundreds of fire incidents of exposure, trained them not only just with the physicalness, but also the book learning part of it. We also trained ATF, FBI, trained in a lot of different other areas through the course of my earlier years. And then...
let me stop you. Have you trained people overseas?
Yes.
Where?
Auckland, New Zealand, Morton and Marsh, England.
And have you trained people in various states in the United States?
Yes.
Okay. How many times, you're now in this fire origin and cause business for how many years or decades?
By doing fire investigations exclusively, 71 I started in fire prevention, but exclusively doing nothing else except fire investigations has been since 1974.
Since 1974, how many times would you say you've been qualified as an expert witness?
Got like 50 years of experience.
Various subjects relating to fire investigations.
Into the thousands, but I would put it better. Less than 2,000, more than 1,000.
Okay. In state and federal courts?
Yes.
In Michigan?
In Michigan and many other states.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I've got Exhibit P as in Paul. I'd move for the admission of his CV, Exhibit P, and move for the admission of Mr. Tranquil, or the certification of Mr. Tranquil as an expert fire investigation, fire suppression, fire inspection, and fire forensic analysis, I should say.
Fire investigation.
As fire suppression tactics.
Everything fire.
As a fire inspector.
Fire starter.
Building. Fire origin and cause.
Chief fire.
And as a fire forensic
creator and
analyst.
Pumbaa.
Thank you. Mr. Blair?
Well, I haven't heard anything that I think justifies fire forensic analyst, Your Honor. I've never actually heard of that.
Happy to do that right now. It'll take a couple minutes.
Okay, you can lay a foundation for
Sure.
this fire forensic. I haven't heard anything on that either.
Do you have subject matter expertise in terms of fire forensic analysis? And if you do, tell us what it is and what your background in it.
Okay, well, forensics usually means that there's going to be some kind of court case or whatever, either civil or criminal. And that's the forensics part of it. And fire, obviously, we're talking about what I've done for most of my life, 58 and a half years and more. And the analyst part of it is I'm analyzing a lot of times other people's investigations prior to mine, even actually when I had 7 investigators, 2 engineers working for me years ago, and I would have to analyze and make sure their reports were correct, or not only correct, that they could present with all the physical evidence what they had to say in their reports. Otherwise, they had to go back and do something else, same as I had to do in the arson squad.
Is that relating to documentation?
Yes, I mean the whole totality of the fire science and fire investigations and being involved in court cases, looking at other people's
I think it's
reports
$2.50 an hour
to evaluate how they did what they did or didn't.
Okay. How long have you been doing that?
Last probably 20 years or more.
Okay, move for the admission of Mr. Tranquil as an expert in fire forensic analysis.
I've heard no expertise or testimony that would warrant him being an expert in in conducting analysis of other people's reports. That's not exactly a scientific field, Your Honor.
That's called peer review, Your Honor.
Well, that's not an expert field.
And under 702, by virtue of his education, training, and work experience, he is certainly qualified to talk about documentation and proper methods.
I'm going to allow him as an expert in the other fields. I'm just a little confused about what the latter one is, but certainly he can testify as an expert if he's going to opine.
Thank you.
On the case. Mr. Blair, you're still standing. I didn't know if you were...
No. I just wanted to make sure, so in case the court had any other questions, that's why I was still standing up. Stand up, sit down.
So I think I move for the admission of Exhibit P, his CV.
Mr. Mueller, this is actually tendered in its entirety to me in discovery. The CV.
That's Exhibit P in your book.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure. Thank you. No objection.
Okay.
I know.
That exhibit into evidence and acknowledge his testimony as an expert, as noted.
Thank you. We've only got a little bit of time, so I'll keep this brief and to the point. You were asked by me to do work on this Linda Stermer fire investigation case?
Yes, after I'd been involved in it before.
You were involved with it in other aspects, correct?
Yes.
All right. Then you and I met roughly about 2019, that sounds about right, end of 2018?
Probably, I'm not sure, but 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it might be.
And what is it I asked you to do in terms of fire origin and cause analysis?
To look at all the documentation in any fire. We're speaking this case or all cases?
To determine, obviously the house was gone by the time you were involved, right?
Yes, in this instance, yes, it was already gone. I was out at the remains, which was just a cement slab, which was the basement, and portions of the walls that were on the side.
Okay. We're going to probably get into it a little bit more tomorrow, but I want to just kind of briefly touch on what did you review in terms of Mr. Leroy's excavation? What type of data did you collect to determine whether he did a proper excavation or anything at all?
I'm going to object as to foundation, Your Honor. I don't think he's asked him what he reviewed, everything that we're jumping way ahead here.
I just asked him what you reviewed. What data did you collect?
I think a little more foundation, please.
You were asked to review Scott Leroy's work because you couldn't do your own investigation. The house didn't exist, right?
Right.
And you were asked to review his report, his photographs, right?
Yes.
Did you review other folks' photographs?
Yes.
Who?
James Shinsky, who worked for the insurance company, he's retired Michigan State Police, and the adjuster, Len McHugh. I saw his photographs, and he had his report. I read just the fire part of the report, but a lot of it was for structural damage and all that. So I didn't go into all that.
One of the things you adhere to is the scientific method.
Yes.
Okay. Ask if you can just very briefly put up exhibit. It's already been marked Exhibit D, and if you can just kind of take us through the steps.
Are you asking me?
Just a minute.
Hold.
Yes.
I see it. I just didn't know if you wanted me to bring mine up.
Are you familiar with the scientific method, sir?
Yes.
How important is it in the type of work you do?
It's extremely important. It's an integral part of what we do. In the fire service, we basically use that as our base, but what we really call it is the systematic approach, which covers exactly all the things that are there. But, when it says, need the problem, you have a fire, you have to go investigate it, and then you have to collect data, analyze that data, formulate hypotheses by what you've found, and continue that process with all the different data that you have until you look at every possible cause for a fire and analyze each and every one of those potentials And if you can't disprove more than one, you've got to determine the cause is undetermined. And if you come to one and only one possibility, nothing else could have caused this fire, then you have a reliable, sound cause for the fire, if you've covered all the bases properly.
What's the premise of the scientific method? Reliability?
It's one of them, yes, to come down to the truth of what happened.
Well, when we're talking about analyzing data, developing a hypothesis, testing the hypothesis, you see how it just kind of circles back and forth? It's an iterative process?
Right. As I said, you do it over and over again. I mean, it sounds crazy, but when you're going to a fire scene, in your mind, you're looking at building on the exterior and saying, well, I know it didn't happen over here, so we got to look over here. And in the continuum like that until you get down to the area where you can definitely define the origin.
In terms of the scientific method, you listened to Mr. Leroy testify last week?
Yes.
Would you say that collecting data is the most important step?
Yes, if you don't collect data, you can't analyze it.
And if
you can't test it.
You can't develop a hypothesis?
Correct.
Yeah. Would you agree with Mr. Leroy that if you don't follow each of these steps in a systematic fashion, then you don't have a reliable methodology?
I'm going to object, Your Honor. I think he's leading as witness.
Okay. Did you hear Mr. Leroy testify regarding improper methodology?
I heard him testify to proper methodology and then improper methodology, yes.
Did you hear him testify regarding garbage in, garbage out?
I believe you asked him that question, or one attorney asked him that question, and he concurred.
And what does that mean to you as an expert?
It means you didn't properly do your investigation, and if you make a determination without having all of the information, your determination is invalid.
Okay. Unreliable.
Unreliable.
What would you say in terms of if your methodology is unreliable, what happens to your opinions?
If your methodology is unreliable, I don't see how you could make a reliable decision or conclusion.
So it really all starts with collecting the amount of data you need?
Objection leading.
This is continued leading, Mr.
Sure.
Mueller.
What does it depend on to have an objective methodology? Where does it start?
Well, you have to, by following the scientific method, you have to make sure that you collect anything and everything that may have a relationship to the origin first and then the cause thereafter of the fire.
And part of that is collecting data, is excavation.
Objection leading, Your Honor. I understand he's maybe not used to asking direct questions, but we need to follow the protocols.
Sir, how important is excavation in the process of collecting data?
Well, it depends on how bad the fire is. You know, what excavation to me usually means, you know, an archaeological type dig, we liken it to that, to take layer by layer off of debris that, particularly if you have a house that's, or a structure that's partially collapsed or totally collapsed. But sometimes you have a small fire, say a careless cooking fire that doesn't go much farther than the top of the stove. You wouldn't need to do excavation there unless there was debris that fell from an upper cabinet or whatever.
How about if you have a death in a fire? Is that significant in terms of how you must do your excavation, or that you do it?
Well, you go to the little crazy expression like, you know, crossing your T's and dotting your I's and making sure that investigation is more thorough than you even could imagine. You take that extra effort to make sure, did I do this or did I do that, and make sure you do all the potential things you need, because not only do you have property loss now, you have a human being that's no longer here.
And where does documentation fall in that importance?
If someone dies, you try harder? Is that what I heard?
The documentation becomes much more stringent, the higher level.
Okay. It's 4 o'clock here. I got maybe 2 minutes. Okay. In this particular case, did you review Mr. Leroy's documentation of his excavation?
What he had in his report and what he did, yes.
Okay. Did you come to some opinions in terms of his documentation of an excavation of this Stermer residence?
Well, there's documentation to start with, had things in it that had nothing to do with anything scientific about what may have caused the fire.
Objection, Your Honor. He's asking about an excavation. He's going off on a completely different tangent here that's not even being asked.
The question is not responsive, so if you could ask the question
Mr.
again.
I'm sorry. I kind of thought I had to lead into that because...
I just want to know, for our jury, before we go home, do you have opinions as to the quality of the documentation that Mr. Leroy did in terms of his excavation?
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. There is very little documentation of what he did excavation-wise. There were some things that were, he declared the fire happened in the living room, and the living room's collapsed, so the evidence is in the basement level. And he moved some pieces of flue vent piping that I saw on the outside, and some furniture pieces, some springs, and some framework.
Did you hear his testimony regarding how much of the living room he did?
He said he did all of it.
Did you hear his testimony about how clear the floor was when he was done?
How clear the floor was?
Yes.
Usually if you're talking about clear, you've hosed it off with the assistance of fire apparatus or something like that. I don't remember him saying. I don't remember him saying.
Okay. So if you could try to just respond to the question that's asked of you.
Are you aware that Mr. Leroy did his excavation and investigation on the 8th, the day after fire?
That was what he said.
Okay. Are you aware that Mr. McHugh, you reviewed Mr. McHugh's photographs that we saw earlier?
Yes.
On the 10th?
Yes.
And are you aware of Mr. Shinsky's photographs on the 15th?
Yes.
Are those pieces of data that you collected to arrive at opinion?
All those things help, yes.
When Mr. Leroy said that he conducted a full excavation of the 18 by 18 living room based on your review of Mr. McHugh's photos, Mr. Shinsky's photos, what is your opinion as to whether that is true?
There's nothing in the photographs that show he did.
Any other documentation?
What do you mean?
Like notes, reports about the excavation?
No.
I think it's 4:05, Your Honor. Probably a good place.
Over.
Jury will call it a day for today. Counsel, can you approach, please, before I send them home?
Okay, that was wild. We have a witness who gets lost in every answer. I realize he's got a lot of experience, and that's great. I think it's great. I love that he's working in the field that he has been in since for longer than I've been alive. 50 some odd years he's been in this. I guess he's approaching 60 years of experience. That's awesome. That's really cool. A couple problems. Defense is having to lead him to get where they want from him without him just going rogue on his answers, which is what he thinks that everyone wants to hear. And defense is doing poorly at not asking leading questions. We talked about that. A lot of times it's difficult to make that switch from being on cross, where you get to lead, and to being on direct, where you don't. And we're seeing Mr. Wolf here, Wolfie, struggle in that area. This witness might be losing the jury because he's losing me. He's criticizing. The last part was probably the clearest testimony that's criticizing a report and saying it was not done properly. There's no record of something that should have been done being done. It got so bad I had to break out the stress cow. He's about to be utterly destroyed from my squishing. Did you replace new cow link with? I just checked the old link and it didn't work for me. So, did the old link work as well?
Confirm that we're still on schedule, as I told you originally in the case. So I'm going to send you home and
tell you not to
unfortunately, I'm able to find my instruction to read to you all again. So during the trial, do not read, listen to, or watch any news reports about the case. Under the law, the evidence you consider to decide the case must meet certain standards. For example, witnesses must swear to tell the truth, and the lawyers must be able to cross-examine them. Because news reports do not have to meet these standards, they could give you incorrect or misleading information that might unfairly favor one side. So to be fair to both sides, you must follow this instruction, as well as my other instructions. Do not discuss the case with anybody, no research or investigations, no social media, and enjoy your evening. I'll have your report back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock to the jury room. Thank you.
I think Stress Cow is sold out. I'm just checking here. Might have to get a new Stress Cow link. See options. I think the cow is sold out. I mean, you can get them, but they're expensive and like third-party sellers and everything. Let's see if anything's going to happen in court once the jury's gone here. Just one second.
The jurors have left. I do have, you said the other matter's not ready yet. They're not here yet. Okay. So you said the videos are 10, 15 minutes total?
I think so, yeah. That's
if you want, I can watch those. Although are you here on the PV? We're waiting on others? We're waiting for it. Okay. I guess we could start, I could just start watching the video and then stop it if I need to do my other matters.
Sure.
Mr. Mueller, is that something you can put up on the big screen for me? Okay.
Not right now, right up here a little bit.
Well, my parties are, I think we're missing parts. Yeah, so I've got two matters, but I don't have all the parties for either matter. So if you want, I could start watching the video now.
Okay.
Show us the video. We want to see the fire burning the shorts.
We can go off the record. Just let the record.
And we don't get it. Boom. Off the record means off the cameras as well. So now, you spoke too soon, Bolshevik Muppet. You cursed it for all of us. But now it's gone. I'm sorry. Unless you're in court. Okay, so don't go yet. We have something really fun for you to watch. We need a little palate cleanser after that terrible ending to the day. And let's see. Let's go right here. Let's do a timeline. Scroll back a ways. Okay, here we go. We have a Zoom hearing to watch. You're going to love this one. I'll explain it afterwards, but let's see. It's going to be on 7. You guys ready? Buckle up. This is a fun one. I'm going to shrink down the corner.
All right, good morning. The court is going to call cause number 2021-523-416. This is Annie Paulson versus Danny Driver. We are allowing Zoom hearing today because some of the out-of-town attorneys felt that it would be a short hearing, so we're accommodating everyone. I think we're here today on a status, find out the status of this case and get what needs to happen before trial. Would you please identify yourself and your client for the record?
Your Honor, Brian Dutton for the plaintiff, Annie Paulson, and she's appearing via Zoom, and we're present and ready, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Dutton, thank you. This court does require ties for attorney in the courtroom. Do you have a tie with you today?
Yes, Judge, somewhere. Let me find that. Excuse me 1 second.
All right. While you're putting on the tie, then let's continue.
You've got
Dusty Rhodes, representing defendant Danny Driver, who is not present today. I filed a motion to withdraw as attorney of record, which is what I would like to discuss today, Your Honor.
All right. Billy Barrister, representing defendant Farmer State, present and ready.
I thank you all for appearing. Are there any issues that we need to take up first?
Yes, Your Honor. There's been an issue that's come up lately that we did not anticipate. So Mr. Barrister and his client this morning filed a motion to designate a responsible third party. We're completely surprised by that. And we're going to object to that because of this late date is not being timely. Also, I haven't received any copy of any motion to withdraw by Mr. Rhodes.
Is it A Bug's Life that's played in the... It's definitely Disney. I'm probably going to get a strike. What's over his shoulder?
Mr. Barrister, you're muted. Would you please unmute your phone, turn your microphone on?
Sorry, Judge. As I was saying, I believe under Chapter 33 of the Civil Practice and Remedies Code, I'm entitled to designate a responsible third party for this accident by filing an amended pleading and designating a third party. This comes as no surprise to the plaintiff, as we have discussed.
All right, counsel, you're going to have to speak one at a time. Court reporter cannot record who is speaking, and because you're not in the courtroom, I can't direct this without your cooperation. So, Mr. Barrister, if you will continue, please.
As I was saying before I was interrupted, we have learned that a third party cut in front of our insured, which resulted in the collision between Ms. Dutton's client and Mr. Driver. This is not new information to Mr. Dutton. Okay, so Judge, this lawsuit's been on file for nearly 2 years. Mr. Barrister's known about a third party for some time. I guess I might have discussed it with him, but I did not agree to this back then, and I certainly do not agree to it now.
Mr. Rhodes, do you have a dog in this fight?
Judge, I don't.
Judge, I have a Danny Driver who has joined in the waiting room.
All right, please allow him to happen to Mr. Rhodes.
Hey, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? Hey, buddy, get out of the way.
Mr. Driver, I can hear. Do you have
I was in traffic, Judge. Sorry, I couldn't join a Zoom while I was driving, but now I'm driving and I'm not in traffic.
All right. Would you please turn your camera on?
No, let me see if I can figure out how to do that, Judge. Let me act like this is the first time I've ever used a Zoom. Okay, hold on. How about that? Is that it right there? Can you say, hey, buddy?
Right. Are you, Mr. Driver, are you driving?
Yeah, Judge, I'm late for an appointment and there's a Dr. Phil marathon going on. I don't want to miss it.
All right. I'm going to ask that you pull over to the side of the road and not be driving while we're having this hearing. Do you understand me?
Yes, Judge, sure. I'm going to be late for my appointment, but okay. That's fine.
All right. Welcome back, Mr. Rhodes. As you were saying.
Sorry, Judge. I don't know what happened. I was there and then I wasn't. It's the darndest thing. Anyways, I filed this motion to withdraw as attorney of record for defendant Danny Driver due to his inability to communicate and with Mr. Driver so that he could assist in his defense in this case. We've attempted to contact him numerous times, and he has been advised 3 times of his right to object to my withdrawal. He's been notified of this hearing and again reminded of his right to object to my withdrawal. I have not received any communications with him with regard to whether or not he agrees or objects to my withdrawal. And as far as I know, he's not here today. So we moved the court to.
Well, while you were gone, your client has joined us. So he is here with us now.
Well, I've been trying to contact him for weeks. Hello, Danny.
Mr. Driver, you'll
Mr.
need.
Rhodes.
Are you still driving, Mr. Driver?
No, Judge. It's just my car has got bad shocks. And I turned my camera too so you can see me better.
Well, thank you, but I want you to not be operating the vehicle during this hearing. All right. Mr. Rhodes, do you have any objection to Mr. Barrister's motion to designate a responsible third party?
Your Honor, I want to be allowed to withdraw. I'm gonna call him back. I'm in here.
Mr. Rhodes, we'll get your motion to withdraw in a few minutes. Right now, I need to know if you have any objection to Mr. Barrister's motion.
Judge, quite frankly, I believe that the third party is entirely responsible for this case, and I hope that you let that scandal in this case.
Hey, I told you I didn't do it. So why are you wanting to get off my case? Why don't you want to represent me now?
Hold on, Mr. Driver, just a minute. All right, I believe that Mr. Barrister has the right to designate a responsible third party, and I'm going to allow it. So if you'll prepare an order and get that to me.
Your Honor, I believe that this is going to delay the trial and unnecessarily cause an injustice to my client.
Does that mean that I'm not going to get my money? I've been waiting a long time, and you told me they were going to pay me.
Okay, hold on, Annie. We can talk after the hearing.
Judge, if Mr. Rhodes gets to withdraw, can I get a court-appointed attorney? You know, a really good one. Even though I don't have any money to hire an attorney, I want the best one you can give me for free.
All right, Mr. Rhodes, what is behind your motion to withdraw? And I'm not sure everyone has seen your motion.
I haven't seen it. And this is definitely a total surprise to me.
Just a minute, Judge. Here you go.
I haven't seen this motion either.
Judge, I can't read that. This may as well be his lunch menu for all I know.
Mr. Rhodes, did you e-file that? Because I haven't seen the motion either, nor am I able to read it from your camera.
My craft staff uploaded a few minutes ago, right, Molly?
I faxed it already. E-file was messing up all morning.
E-file's been messing up.
I've heard that, Judge.
For now, I'm not going to consider your motion to withdraw, as none of us have seen it, and I'll set it for another time after the parties have had a chance to review and respond to it. Do you understand that?
Judge, does this mean you're going to appoint me a new lawyer?
All right, Mr. Driver, this is a civil matter, and you're not entitled to appointed counsel. I'm sure that Mr. Rhodes can explain that to you.
Not if he doesn't answer my phone calls, I can't.
Well, if he gets a court-appointed attorney, how come I don't get one and I have to pay for somebody? And when am I going to get my money?
Annie, please, we will talk in a few minutes.
All right. Is there anything else today? Mr. Dutton?
Judge, do we need to go ahead and get a new scheduling order in light of you allowing Mr. Barrister to designate a new responsible third party?
I can circulate a new schedule, Judge.
When can I get my hearing on my motion to withdraw?
All right. Mr. Barrister, if you will, put together a new scheduling order and get signatures from all the attorneys of record, including anyone that might appear for the third party.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Rhodes, you will need to contact my coordinator and get a date for your motion to withdraw. And at that time, we will consider any issues that you have with your representation of Mr. Driver.
Will do, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Dutton, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Rhodes?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Mr. Barrister?
Nothing from us, Your Honor.
All right.
Hey, nothing from me either, sir.
Wait,
All
when
right.
are we going to court? Hold on, when are we going to court?
All right, Ms. Paulson and Mr. Driver, your attorneys are going to visit with you, I hope, in the very near future to answer those types of questions. But Mr. Driver's gone. But thank you all for being here. And if there's nothing further, then we will be adjourned and you're excused. Thank you.
Okay. Full confession that court made the Judge J. Philip Hayes 99th District Court to teach lawyers. It was a skit. It was to teach lawyers about the problems they're seeing with Zoom and the problems that Zoom has introduced into the court process. All of those were actors. I mean, as many of them are playing the roles that they play in real life, but they just have different names. He goes on, if you watch the rest of the clip, it's the only clip on that court's video feed. He goes on and explains the roles and thanks each one of them for their action. And then he, in a way that only the judge can, he takes all the fun out of it, by spelling out in detail all the humor that we just watched. So thank you, Josh, for finding us that. I figured it would be better to end on that than the testimony we got from the fire expert today, because that was a little bit much. Little much. None of them was a cat. None was a cat. None of us fell for it. I know it's the judge. Every time you watch it, it gets worse and worse. The first time I watched it, it's easier to watch on the phone, but when you watch on like a big screen, everyone's like looking at their scripts, reading and waiting and pausing when someone else is supposed to interrupt. They're terrible, terrible actors. The only funny part is we've seen each of those things in real life, in real court, and so it's the truth is buried in there somewhere. All right, you are super sleuths. We were all punked. Great find, Josh. So I appreciate it. Dr. Phil called it. Put it for me. The Dr. Phil was too much. So the missing tie was a fake. Yes, it was. Red, thanks for sticking around. Appreciate it. Thanks all for being here. It's been a great day. I think it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Some of the cross-examination of this investigator, I think, will be quite heated and quite interesting. I think the state is going to have to come down harder and quicker on the defense when they're leading and really push them off their game a little bit. I think that'll make it so it's more difficult to get what they want out of the witnesses, which will frustrate the defense. And somewhere along the line, the jury has to decide what to do with the testimony with that lady who testified first for the defense, because it just does not fit in the puzzle piece as we know it. So it'll be fun. Tomorrow we're going to be back bright and early. When will we get our money for you subjugating us to that? Send something to the post office box. I'm sure it'll get to me. Yeah. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again tomorrow morning with I count day 8. It might be day 7. I'm not sure. I'm on day 8 for the Michigan Linda Stermer trial. So we'll see you then. You guys be good to each other. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.